ya nchi yetu na wale ambao hajasahau wamesikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Members, we have quorum. We'll proceed. Clerk.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Okay. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements. Order number 3, messages.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Take your seats. Honorable members, I have a message from the Senate. Honorable members, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 41-4, I wish to report to the House that I have received 2 messages from the Senate regarding its decision on 2 bills, namely the Equalization Fund Appropriation Number 2 Bill, Senate Bill Number 30 of 2023, and the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill Number 38 of 2024. Honorable members, the first message conveys that on Tuesday, 17 September 2024, the Senate considered and rejected the National Assembly's amendments to the Equalization Fund Appropriation Number 2 Bill, Senate Bill Number 30 of 2023. You will recall that this House considered and passed the bill with amendments on 13th June 2024. Thereafter, I refer the bill back to the Senate for reconsideration in accordance with the provisions of Article 112 1B of the Constitution. Honorable members, the decision of the Senate on the National Assembly's amendments to the Equalization Fund Appropriation Number 2 Bill, Senate Bill Number 30 of 2023, effectively commits the bill to a mediation committee pursuant to the provisions of Article 112 2B of the Constitution. Consequently, the Speaker of the Senate has appointed the following senators to the mediation committee on the bill: Senator Joe Newtu MP, Senator Mohammed Abbas Sheikh MP, Senator Professor Margaret Kamar EGH MP, Senator Tabitha M. Mutinda MP, Senator Daniel Maanzo MP, Senator Beatrice Ogola MP, and Senator Faki Mohamed Mwinyihaji MP. Honorable members, in order to fully constitute the mediation committee on the bill, the National Assembly is required to appoint 7 members to sit in the committee. I therefore call upon the majority and minority leadership of the House to nominate members to represent the National Assembly in the Mediation Committee by 7 p.m. today, Tuesday, the 8th of October 2024. I will then communicate to the House tomorrow the National Assembly members appointed to this Mediation Committee to ensure timely commencement of the mediation process. Honourable members, the second message conveys that on Thursday, 3rd October 2024, the Senate considered and passed the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 38 of 2023, with amendments. You'll also recall that on 7th August 2024, this House considered and passed the bill with amendments, following which I refer the bill to the Senate for consideration in accordance with the provisions of Article 110(4) of the Constitution. The Senate has now referred the bill back to the National Assembly for reconsideration. Honourable members, with respect to the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill 2024, I direct the clerk to circulate the Senate amendments to the bill to all members. Thereafter, the amendments will stand referred to the Budget and Appropriations Committee. I urge the committee to expedite consideration of the Senate's amendments and report back to the House on Tuesday, 15th October 2024. Conscious of the House, that the House is scheduled to proceed on a short recess next week, I direct that the matter be prioritized for consideration on the same day. As in to remind members that conclusion of the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill 2024 will pave way for reconsideration of the Counter Allocation of Revenue Bill 2024, which was referred back to the Senate under Article 115 of the Constitution by His Excellency the President following rejection of the Finance Bill 2024. This will facilitate disbursement of the requisite funds to account governments and avoid further stalling of operations of the devolved units. The House is accordingly guided. I thank you. Next.
Order number 8, special motion, proposed removal by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya.
Honourable members, we are back to the motion. So far, so good with the morning sitting. As I directed in the morning, honourable members, we will proceed up to 5. The Deputy President indicated he will be here by 4. At 5, we'll call him and allocate him up to 2 hours maximum. When he finishes, the majority leaders will come in, and thereafter the mover will be called to reply. We have 5 minutes each, and the interest is overwhelming. If we remain with the 5 minutes, you know, not each one of you will have time to speak. The alternative to this, and I don't want us to go that direction, is that after the Deputy President has had his opportunity, this motion has no time cap, but we must finish not later than midnight today. So I want to hear your views. We continue with 5 minutes. And after the Deputy President speaks, I'll go to the majority and reply, and you go to the vote. Is that all right? Excellent. At the time we concluded, it was Honorable Kajwang from my left who had spoken. I'll now open the afternoon with the member for Ugenya.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Article 132 of the Constitution of Kenya provides that the President will every year give a report to this House on the steps taken to implement Article 10. Mr. Speaker, Article 10 is the soul of the nation. Article 10 is what the engineers would call the software of the country. It is what the doctor would call the heartbeat of this country. Oh dear. Mr. Speaker, through Article 10, this country gave to itself how they want to be governed. Mr. Speaker, Article 10 of the Constitution provides for us the map to where we want to go. Mr. Speaker, in the last 1.5 years, we've listened to and been treated to, Mr. Speaker, the Deputy President piercing with a sharp knife through the very heart of the nation, Mr. Speaker. When we went to give ourselves a new constitution, Mr. Speaker, we said tribalism, nepotism, corruption, Mr. Speaker, are our ills. And we said that we will entrench Article 10 and ensure that going forward, we live as a country together, united, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for the last 2 years, the Honorable Gachagua has not only put a knife onto the back of our values and shared principles, but he's kept turning that knife, Mr. Speaker, to the level where if we allow him to continue being Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, we are going to risk the loss of the heart of this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the move of this motion, the Honorable Mutuse, read what appears in Article 10, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is nothing to say about a person who believes that this country should only belong to one region, Mr. Speaker. It has to be clear today that we are not impeaching Mount Kenya. We are not impeaching the Kikuyu. We are impeaching an individual who has refused to follow the law every single day of his life. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Gachagua is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, not the Deputy President of Mount Kenya, Mr. Speaker. He is the Deputy President of Kenya Kwanza, not Murima Kwanza, Mr. Speaker. It has to be said today that if you are to build together, if you are to run a country that has shared values, shared principles, and shared prosperity, Mr. Speaker, all of us must believe that our leaders will live within the four corners of the law. Mr. Speaker, it is true, and it's been said by Kenyans, that we are all tribal. Of course, we all come from tribes. We also have our own tribal sentiments, Mr. Speaker. We all have our feelings about what should happen to our tribe, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's even been said that Kufa Dereva, Kufa Makanga. It's also been said that all of us sitting here today have some tribal things in our closet, Mr. Speaker. That is true. But, Mr. Speaker, and you are a seasoned lawyer, when you go to court and you are charged, and the others you are charged are not in court, they say, Rigiji, Gachagua, and others not in court. The case here today is that of Rigiji, not others not here today. The case we're dealing with today is the case of Makanga, not driver, not passengers. So, Mr. Speaker, we have to deal with a person who believes that his job is to represent Mount Kenya. Mr. Speaker, on this side sits members of parliament elected by Mount Kenya people. On this side sits members of parliament from Nyeri, from Kirinyaga, from Muranga, from everywhere. Those counties also have governors. Nobody appointed Rigiji to be the benefactor. No one appointed Rigiji to be the custodian of Mount Kenya. No one. Because our constitution provides for leaders from that place to represent them. Mr. Speaker, by his actions that are against Article 10 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, Rigiji has alienated Mount Kenya from the rest of the country. He is fought so hard to be the Mount Kenya kingpin, Mr. Speaker, and I believe that this House must impeach him so that he can go and be the kingpin of Mount Kenya and not the deputy president of this country. That's what we need to do this afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I heard him mention the name of our PCS, the name of the Ford Kenya leader. Mr. Speaker, coalition agreements are done.
Give him 1 minute.
Coalition agreements are done between parties and among parties, Mr. Speaker. And if, for example, MDG where I run has shares in the government, the shares are for the whole country, not for a tribe or for an individual, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today, I must say that we will impeach him. But all of us here today must also soul search that as you impeach Gachagua, have you lived a better life yourself as a Kenyan? Have you lived a better life as a leader? What have you done in your closet that reflects what Gachagua has done? We'll impeach him, but we must also change our ways as a country, from the president down to all of us who lead in this country, Speaker. I support and believe that he must be impeached.
Commissioner Patrick Makau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, allow me to give thumbs up for one Honorable Ecomas Mwengi Mutuse, massive. Mr. Speaker, I give him thumbs up for executing this motion and showing Kenyans that leadership is not about where you come from, who you are, but how you perform your duties. Mr. Speaker, this morning, I've heard many speakers talk to this motion. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the speakers who have said that yesterday and the week before, Mr. Speaker, I've been watching the deputy president of this country doing rallies in town, going to churches. And Mr. Speaker, what we saw on Sunday was different from what we saw yesterday. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I want to advise us, even as politicians, sometimes we should listen to our advisors, and we listen to the right advisors. Mr. Speaker, if I were to advise the Deputy President, yesterday's interview was his undoing, and he proved to Kenya that yes, all these accusations that are being leveled to him are really true. Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm to this House, one, despite Article 10, the Deputy President, who is supposed to hold the values of this nation, by uniting Kenyans, by fighting against corruption, by fighting against tribalism, is the one who has championed tribalism through and through. Mr. Speaker, I want to tell you, as a member of Parliament in Mavoko, I have spoken the word Kenya many times, more than the Deputy President of this country. All what I've been hearing is Murima, 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 Murima. Mr. Speaker, today I want to tell Kenyans, I know Parliament has been prosecuted, and many words, we've been called names that we are an unperforming house. But today I stand here as a legislator Mavoko. Mr. Speaker, why am I charging the Deputy President to be a tribalist? Mr. Speaker, at one time, I listened to the Deputy President on national television saying that he reversed a cabinet decision to reverse the demolitions in Mathare. Why did he do that? He said his people were in Mathare and that he could not sit and see his people's houses demolished. Mr. Speaker, it reminded me when the people of Mavoko houses were being demolished. Personally, I went to him, and Mr. Speaker, I thought he could help me. But the words he used to me are unprintable, and I cannot speak them in this house. Mr. Speaker, today I want to tell him, those people that he was addressing, 30% of the houses that were demolished belong to those people of Murima. They belong to Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, I come from a constituency that is cosmopolitan. Today, as I stand here, Mr. Speaker, we have lost lives. We have had people whose properties had to be auctioned because they had gone for loans for those houses to build. Mr. Speaker, as a legislator, I humbled myself and requested and asked the Deputy President to intervene so that those houses, Mr. Speaker, a parcel of 4,000 acres, 325 acres, I requested him to have the 300 acres where the houses were seated, to have those people even pay to Portland. But the names he called me, Mr. Speaker, I cannot call them here. When I hear someone saying there are things which are not personal, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell them, those people elected me to represent them, and their pains are my pains, Mr. Speaker. Today, as I sit here, Mr. Speaker, the same deputy president came to Machakos, and he said the Kamba votes are very little, they cannot bring in a president. He went ahead and said the Kamba votes, Kitui, Machakos, and Makueni combined are less than 1 million. I want to remind the deputy president that the Kamba vote is more than 3 million. I want to remind him that Kamba nation produced Gay who took care of Kenyatta in prison. That same Kamba nation produced Munyao Kisoi, who flew the flag of Kenya during Independence Day. That same flag produced Muindi Mbingu, the former freedom fighter, who is my grandfather, Mr. Speaker. I want to remind him that same Kamba nation.
Give him 1 minute.
1 minute. Mr. Speaker, that same Kamba nation that you said their votes were useless, they are the ones who are running every night now, calling for them to come and save you in this budget motion. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind him that every tribe in this country is important and he should live to respect them. I support this motion for every reason and every accusation that he has been accused of. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Sane.
Mr. Speaker, before I want to bring out 3 assertions which are highly distorted, emanating from His Excellency the Deputy President Gachagua. One, that he is a co-president. In every general election, 6 ballot papers are being issued to voters. And of the 6, 1 is for the presidency, and all Kenyans have voted His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto. I did not, and no Kenyan voted Gachagua for any position other than being escorting the deputy president to State House. Nobody, the president to State House. He was not elected. So the claim that he had acquired 7.2 million voters is unfounded, unfactual, and is just mere hallucinations, Mr. Speaker. So he's not a co-president, he is just merely an assistant to the president. A second thing, Mr. Speaker, he always talks of being trained in paramilitary exercises or acquired paramilitary training. He is supposed to be a symbol of harmony, a symbol of unity, not to intimidate, not to tell the citizenry that indeed he is military trained. That in itself bespeaks volumes on who his character is, Mr. Speaker. One other thing, yesterday he has made disparaging remarks on the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate. The fact that his impeachment is coming in front of this House today and thereafter proceed to the Senate, it wasn't befitting for him to speak disparaging, derogatory remarks on our Speaker and the Speaker of the Senate. On to the impeachment motion, Mr. Speaker. Article 150, I think the threshold has fully been met in impeaching the Deputy President Gachagua. His loyalty to the President is questionable. His visits, whenever the President goes out of the country, the Deputy President is never seen to see him off. Whenever the President comes into the country, the second principle is always not available to receive the President. He gives press releases that contradicts the President, talks too much, giving epithets that make our President, demean our President, projecting our president a liar on several occasions. Yesterday, all Kenyans have heard that it is His Excellency the President Ruto who taught me how to respond to civil servants, how to address intelligence officers like Nurdin Haji, like the CID officer Amin. That in itself depicts lack of respect for the presidency. Mr. Speaker, it is clear in our constitution that he is the second in command as espoused in Article 147.3 as read with 134. This he has failed. He has also shown massive erosion of the position of the executive, not being the assistant and showing the unity so expected of him, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Deputy President severally pronounced himself on matters discriminating Kenyans, that he has gotten his share of cabinet secretaries in his region. Cabinet secretaries belong to all Kenyans, and I think that doesn't befit. He has addressed public servants in public, and in all aspects, he has violated Article 232, which is the same principles that is expected for the executive. Finally, Mr. Speaker, he also talked ill of public participation. The courts have declared themselves that public participation was well done, and yesterday it was clear that he was contemptuous that the public participation done by the National Assembly did not meet the required threshold, and that, I believe, is also being so contemptuous of this House. With those few remarks, I support the impeachment. Thank you.
Rafael Wanjala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this important motion in this country. Mr. Speaker, this is my second motion since I became Member of Parliament, the second one to discuss impeachment of our Deputy President. Mr. Speaker, I'm very disturbed the way our Deputy President has been behaving, because the Deputy President is principal assistant of the President. But always when the President goes out of the country, the guy recedes back to Murima, and then he starts asking Mr. President so many questions instead of running the country when the President is away. He's never available in Nairobi, except he's only available in his village, trying to ask Mr. President questions, and that, Mr. Speaker, has really annoyed some of us. Mr. Speaker, when there were floods, this Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, was assigned by the President that he's supposed to take care of the disaster that was there at that time. The man never moved from his home yard to other areas. He was never in Nyando, he was never in Budanangi, he was nowhere, and all the food he directed to his backyard. Mr. Speaker, I want to be very brief. Yes, Mr. Speaker, this Deputy President.
Order, Wanjala, there's a point of order. Yes, Muya.
Honorable Speaker, is the member in order to say the Deputy President has never moved out of his backyard, while it is on record and on public domain that he has been in Kisumu, in Busia, in Mombasa, in all parts of the country?
Mr. Speaker, the Deputy President will only be seen in those places when he is accompanying the President, but he has never come on his own to see the destruction of floods. Mr. Speaker, these people of EACC did a service to this country, because for you to be elected, you must go through EACC. Mr. Speaker, this Deputy President was a DO, and Mr. Speaker, he was a DO, And as a DO, he was sacked on 30th July 1997 as a DO. And the reason why he was sacked, and I will table this later, that the ESCC did not do its work and it cleared him to be a member of parliament and to be a deputy president, yet he was not supposed to be because of his misconduct. Mr. Speaker, this letter is read as Mr. Geoffrey regarding Gachagua, District Officer 1, Laikipia, through Provincial Commissioner, summarily dismissal. Reference is made to our letter dated 19th May 1989 on your appointment to the position of District Officer. I and your response statements to show cause for gross misconduct, desertion of duty, and reported mismanagement of relief food for Laikipia District. These are thieves. In this regard, we wish to notify you that your employment contract has been terminated forthwith. Consequently, you are required to report to the Rift Valley Provincial Commissioner for handover and clearance. This was signed by Queen Rua. Mr. Speaker, this was a wrong man to be in this office in the first place. This one, for Kenya to grow, Gachagua must go. To stop tribalism, Gachagua must go. For Kenya to unite, Gachagua must go. I tabled the letter and I support the motion.
Kagusha.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Kagusha.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Raphael Wanjala has produced a photocopy of a document that we cannot get its authenticity. Honorable Speaker, the document that Honorable Raphael Wanjala is referring to is not.
Order, Honorable Kagusha. Order. Take your seat, Honorable Kagusha. Honorable Kagusha, first, from where you are sitting, you have not seen the document. Secondly, the Speaker is fully conversant with the rules of admissibility. And I'll look at the document and I'll direct you on how to use it. I thought I had given you an opportunity to contribute. You are going at a tangent that is totally unnecessary. If you want to contribute, that is what I had given you. If you are not ready to contribute, I give somebody else.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to stand, and I stand guided. Honorable Speaker, I want to stand to oppose the motion to impeach the Deputy President. Honorable Speaker, the reason why the new constitution brought about the issue of having a deputy president position, which is not an appointed position anymore, but a position that the president and the deputy would be conjoined together at the point of election, is so that the two of them can be able to work together. And that is what the country desired. That is what our people of this Republic of Kenya voted for in 2010 in the new constitution. Honorable Speaker, I want to believe that when we have been able to get the two of them, we should be able as a country, as much as practically possible, ensure that whatever misunderstanding and whatever differences that may appear or may exist between the two of them,
yes, Kagombe.
We get...
Kagusha, hold. Honorable Gigi Kagombe, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, is the honorable member in order to disparage the Constitution and mutilate it in the manner he is doing by disputing the provisions of Article 150 of this Parliament to remove a sitting Deputy President? It is constitutional, it is written, it was passed by us in 2010, and that work is given and granted by the Constitution to this Parliament. Therefore, the fact that the President and the Deputy President were elected together doesn't stop the provisions of Article 150. So therefore, he should withdraw.
Honorable Speaker, you know there's a reason why Honorable Kagombe is called Kagombe and not Kigombe. It's because a small cow jumps before he jumps he jumps, you know, a small calf. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, you know.
Take your seat. Order. Order, honorable members, order. Order. Honorable Kagusha, take your seat. Order, honorable members, order. Honorable Kagusha, you are here the whole morning, and I did direct the House. Order. Order. Order, Nabuin, take your seat. Honorable members, we have done very well since morning. This may be an emotive motion, but as leaders, leave your emotions at that door when you come to this House. And I want to encourage you, honorable members, Honorable Kagusha, treat your colleagues the same way you would want them to treat you. Don't make any disparaging remarks. Don't purport to misinterpret the meaning of the name of a colleague, because that's not your duty. We just withdraw and apologize to Kagombe and proceed with your contribution.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to withdraw the naming of Honorable Kagombe and apologize, Honorable Speaker.
No.
Honorable Speaker, I also hope that you have noted the Honorable Amombi has hit me with a bottle of water. Honorable Speaker, and that is unparliamentary. Is that unparliamentary that another honorable member should rule?
Order. Honorable Amombi, did you throw a bottle? Take your seat.
That is very unparliamentary.
Take your seat. Amombi.
Mr. Speaker, it's very bad that Honorable Kagusha can lie to this House. He is lying. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Kagusha is lying. Let him continue with the speech, but he should not lie in this House.
Order, honorable members, to the extent that the Speaker didn't see and Honorable Kagusha is not claiming any injury, let's leave it there.
Honorable Speaker, I am of the opinion we have a respectable gentleman by the name Henry Kissinger, and Henry Kissinger did state that the quest for peace and order has two elements that are sometimes treated as contradictory. He said that the pursuit of elements of security and the requirements of acts of reconciliation, if you do not and if you cannot achieve both of them, we will not be able to reach either of them. The road to diplomacy, Honorable Speaker, Henry Kissinger did say that may appear complicated and frustrating, but progress to it requires both vision and the courage to undertake that journey. Honorable Speaker, I'm of the opinion that when we have our two senior most gentlemen in this republic having such kind of a disagreement or an issue that is a misunderstanding, we should seek the way of reconciliation. The way I see us doing now, we are just following on the issue of security. We are looking at the issues of removal, yet we are not pursuing a very important goal in this, and that is reconciliation. And for that matter, Honorable Speaker, I am of the opinion that we should seek a way that we can be able to bring the two gentlemen together. Honorable Speaker, you know that in the past we have brought an elder by the name His Excellency Obasanjo. We have brought Senator Kuhn from US. We have even had a gentleman by the name Museveni, His Excellency Museveni, who have in the past mediated when our two senior most leaders in this country have disagreed. And for that reason, Honorable Speaker, I want to remind you that you have even had Kofi Annan in Kenya. I'm of the opinion that we should have gotten away.
Hold Kagusha. Yes, Shimba.
I want to inform Honorable Kagusha that by any dictionary that is known in this world,
Honorable Speaker, I did not ask for information from Honorable Omar.
Just relax. Order.
Honorable Speaker, I do not desire to have any information from
Honorable Your information, take your seat. Finish up.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. So Honorable Speaker, I would like to complete my statement.
Yeah, finish up. Give him a minute. Finish up. Time is up. Give him a minute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would just like to complete my statement by saying that I wish that as a country, we are able to come up with a mechanism in which we can be able to bring our senior leaders when they have a disagreement in such a way that they can be able to reconcile and agree. Because, Honorable Speaker, even when we open the Pandora's box of impeachment, Honorable Speaker, we are going to be opening something that we may not be able to contain. We are not likely to have many impeachments coming to this House because we have started something that, Honorable Speaker, sometimes we are not able to contain in coming days. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
He's off the floor, Jeanette, so you cannot raise.
The Speaker, I wanted to clarify that the matter before the House is not a disagreement of anyone. It is a motion that has been tabled by Honorable Mutuse that has 11 grounds. Mr. Speaker, we are discussing a motion that contains 11 grounds. We are not discussing any disagreements of anyone with his wife, with his boss, with his children, with his mother, with his uncle, with his cousin, with his farmer, with his cook. We are not discussing those things, bro.
Mama Zamzam.
Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kuchangia mada ya leo ya kuweza kumng'oa mamlakani naibu wa rais. Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, naibu wa rais amekuwa akizunguka Kenya nzima. Na akizungumza, mimi kwanza nilikuwa nauliza Mheshimiwa Spika, naibu wa rais amesahau dawa zake kumeza ama kuna shida Mheshimiwa Spika? Kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, naibu wa rais alikuwa akizunguka kila mahali. Anazungumzia mambo ya ukabila, anazungumza mambo ya shares. Mimi najiuliza, Mombasa County Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi ndio tulikusanya ushuru zaidi tukawa nambari 1 Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini naibu wa rais akizungumza, anazungumza mambo ya shares, mambo ya mlima, mambo ya nini. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiona naibu wa rais anaweza kumkosoa rais mbele ya wananchi Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika,
Honorable Mchomba, hold Mama Zamzam, hold her time. Yes, Honorable Mchomba. Order, honorable members, order, Honorable Mchomba.
Bwana Spika, nasimama kuuliza kama...
Order, hold on. Which standing order has been breached? Cite the standing order.
Point of information, clarification.
Asante sana
Mheshimiwa Spika.
Mheshimiwa Spika.
Clarification, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Mr.
Speaker,
I refuse to be muted when I have something that I need the honorable member to clarify. The honorable member must clarify.
Honorable Mchomba. Order, Honorable Mchomba. Hold your horses. Honorable Mchomba. If you want to, you know the rules. Order. Honorable Mchomba, you know the rules. If you want to inform a member on the floor, the member must accept your information. She has said she doesn't want. Under what standing order?
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member has talked about that Mr. Deputy President alisahau kunywa dawa. Tungetaka kujua ni dawa gani ambazo mheshimiwa anaongea juu yake. Na kama hizo dawa, na kama...
Mama Zamzam, endelea.
Mheshimiwa Spika, wajua ndio makosa ya kupatia mabubu kuzungumza Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi nimesema huenda ikawa, sijasema amesahau, nimesema huenda ikawa, nilifikiria, nilikisia. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, kiongozi kama yule ambaye siku zote anajua makabila yote Kenya tunakaa kwa amani, tumeoana, tunaelewana. Mheshimiwa Spika, anataka kuturegesha kwa makabila kama vile tulivyokuwa na mambo ya Kaya Bombo, kama tulivyokuwa na zile baada ya kura za 2007 2008. Mheshimiwa Spika, watu walipoteza maisha yao kwa sababu ya ukabila. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nakaa nikishangaa. Deputy President alikuja Mombasa, amesimama juu ya gari anatafuna ndizi na mahindi choma. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza alitupa takataka pale, alikuwa juu kama kuna watoto wetu ndio ufagia. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, pale juu ya gari Deputy President anazungumza akisema kuwa yule gavana atoe pesa za floods, wakati anajua 14 billion kutoka World Bank ambayo ni ya disaster management. Mheshimiwa Spika, zilikuwa kwa ofisi yake na aliziramba. Mheshimiwa Spika, alikuwa anajua 6 billion tuliweka hapa katika bajeti. Mheshimiwa Spika, hakuzileta Mombasa. Mheshimiwa Spika, yule ni kiongozi wa kugonganisha watu. Mheshimiwa Spika, na ndio maana najiuliza, kwa miaka miwili kampuni 22, Mheshimiwa Spika, hata mimi moja sina. Miaka miwili kampuni 22 na zote zina 5.7 billion ya mtoto, ya mke, ya nani, kisha bado unaenda kuchukua mali ya ndugu yako, unaacha mayatima, unaacha mjane, unamtesa, kisha utatuambia nini katika taifa la Kenya? Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi leo nasema angatuliwe, nasema kwa kutesa mjane Gachagua must go, kwa kukula pesa za mahindi Gachagua must go, kwa kutesa ukabila na Kenya Gachagua must go. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Ngogoyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to oppose the motion by the Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, Member of Parliament for Kibwezi West. Mr. Speaker, I, representing the people of Kajiado North, Mr. Speaker, I have gone through the motion and the issues that Wakili Mwengi Mutuse has raised. And Mr. Speaker, I pick on a number of issues that I would want to draw the attention of this House to. Number one, Mwengi Mutuse says that all we need to do is to just believe the things he has tabled here are true. We cannot believe what he says is true. We have to cross-examine. We have to look at them properly. Mr. Speaker, I have gone through the evidence that he has provided on some of the issues. And Mr. Speaker, having 21 companies, according to Mwengi Mutuse, is an intention for the Deputy President to launder money, and therefore he should be impeached. Mr. Speaker, he did not say money has been laundered, but it is an intention. And he says it is enough for this House to just believe and therefore impeach. Mr. Speaker, I say no to that impeachment. Number two, Mwengi Mutuse, former Chief of Staff in Machakos County Government and the current Member of Parliament, is giving hearsay that he has heard. Mr. Speaker, he has said in his submission that they were officers who were coerced to write to change in the Ministry of Lands without tabling any evidence from the document that he has provided. Mr. Speaker, this House cannot go with hearsay. It is not possible for you to make a decision out of hearsay. Mr. Speaker, in his accusations, he says that the Deputy President is a Mount Kenya person, makes issues based on Mount Kenya. I am the Member of Parliament for Kajiado North. He has visited my constituency for a development tour. The executive, through the State Department for Education, Mr. Speaker, constructed classes, courtesy of his visit in Enoma Tasiani Girls Secondary School, a school that rescues girls, specifically from asylum. Mr. Speaker, the only girls' school that we have in my constituency, the Great Kajiado North. Mr. Speaker, Mwengi Mutuse did not mention such issues, but he says, according to him, the Deputy President coerced, did 1, 2, 3, and Mr. Speaker, he wants to say that we just need to believe. Mr. Speaker, impeaching the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya needs more evidence than what he has provided. I find this to be very shallow. And Mr. Speaker, maybe in the words of the Chief Justice, this is hot air, in my opinion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have found very respectful submission from lawyers in this House.
Yes, Mama Zamzam.
A majority of them.
Mheshimiwa, point of order number 87, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Mimi nataka nimjuze mbunge mwenzangu kuwa huyo alikuwa...
Naomba nisijuzwe, naomba nisijuzwe.
Hapana, nimesema...
Naomba nisijuzwe.
She is on a point of order.
Mheshimiwa Speaker, nataka atoe statement of fact, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Huyu mbunge aliyoko hapa, hata kama alikuwa akifanya kazi county hapa, amekuja ni mbunge na ametoa motion hapa, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Na mimi nataka nimwelezee mbunge kuwa wasema kule wanaosema kufa abiria, kufa conductor, kufa dereva. Huyu conductor ameweza kupickpocket maabiria wote, hawana chochote, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Kwa hiyo aende tu nyumbani, Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
I choose to stick to content.
Your time is
I choose to stick to matter.
Go on.
I choose to ignore the honorable member. Mr. Speaker, I therefore want to submit to this House that, Mr. Speaker, when a whole deputy speaker of this assembly goes to a public function in Nandi and says that I will oversee the impeachment of the deputy president, and comes to this House and is expected to vote, do you expect fairness?
Your time is up. Give him 1 minute. The deputy speaker spoke to that.
Thank you.
She has a vote, unlike the speaker.
Yeah, but Mr. Speaker, I just want to say
and she
that
will
I
not
find...
preside on these proceedings.
Okay, because I respect you, Mr. Speaker, I will not engage on that matter. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to submit that Ngogoyo Onesmus Nguro, Member of Parliament for Kajiado North, says no to the impeachment of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya.
Member for Taveta. Member for Taveta. The mic is there.
Can I have this one?
Is
this
it
one
working?
Is short.
There you are.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For a start, Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion by my learned colleague, Honorable Mutuse. Most of the things, Mr. Speaker, have been said, but allow me to say a few things. Number one, allow me to borrow on the then Council of White House during the Clinton administration. He said, impeachment is not a remedy for private wrongs. It's a method for removing someone whose continued presence in office will cause danger to the nation. Mr. Speaker, my position is the continued stay in office of the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is a threat to the nation of Kenya. I continue by saying this, Mr. Speaker. Between 1963, when we got independence, we had a vice president in the name of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. He never said, do not touch Luo Nyanza. During the President Moi's regime, we had George Saitoti. We had Musalia Mudavadi. He never said, do not touch Luya Nation. During the time of Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, he never said, do not touch Ukambani. But we have a deputy president, Mr. Speaker, who is obsessed with a certain region in this country. Mr. Speaker, secondly, Mr. Speaker, much has been said by my learned colleagues in this House. But I want to borrow something, Mr. Speaker. Article 145 of the Constitution provides for reasons for impeachment of a deputy president and the president. The case of this during Sonko's impeachment, the Supreme Court laid certain guidelines and said that the question as to whether or not there is a violation of a constitution should be guided by certain principles. Number one, whether there is interference with the constitutional functions of the legislature and the judiciary. My submissions is that the utterances of the Deputy President in relation to his cases in court is interference with the constitutional functions of the legislature and the judiciary. Another ground that has been given in determination as to whether or not there is a violation of the Constitution is whether there is an abuse of the Code of Conduct. Mr. Speaker, my argument is the constant pronunciation by the Deputy President that divides the country in terms of regions and tribe is an abuse of Code of Conduct and is a ground for impeachment. Another criteria given is the disregard and breach of fundamental rights of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. In Taveta, where I come from, there are two minority tribes. There is the Taveta tribe and there is the Pare tribe, with a minority tribes in Kenya. Article 56 of the Constitution says that the state should do everything within its means to ensure that marginalized tribes in Kenya are protected. Mr. Speaker, the pronouncement of the Deputy President about a certain region without considering the Tavetas of Taveta or the Pares of Taveta is a violation of fundamental rights and freedom as guaranteed by Article 56 and is a ground for impeachment. Very lastly, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. Even in Taveta, there are Kikuyus. So if we constantly obsessed of Mount Kenya, who will speak for the Kikuyus who live in Tavetas? And that is why I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, because of the obsession of Mount Kenya, because of obsession of a certain region, Rigathi Gachagua must go.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to start with there was a spat between the Pope and Napoleon in 1800. And this is what Napoleon asked the Pope. Pope, how many divisions do you have? Then the Pope replied, I have the Catholic Church. Honorable Speaker, yesterday, during the interview, the Deputy President came up strongly to almost insinuate that this parliament is a bunch of clowns. But this parliament is guided by so many things. But the very important instrument this parliament wields is this thing called the Constitution. It is the supreme law of the land. Honorable Speaker, one of the reasons why the Deputy President must be impeached is the issue of national unity. He came on public stage to talk about one issue that eventually will discriminate the minorities. One man, one vote, one shilling. That is important in the way he says. But in a sense, the regions that are behind, that are discriminated, that are marginalized, will continue to be behind. Honorable Speaker, Article 56, A1, it talks about minority groups, why they must be in government, why they must be represented. Honorable Speaker, this country must move forward, and it must move as one nation, one people. We are of different nationalities. It is the Deputy President who stood in a public place to say that the problem of this country is the Somalis. The Somalis are part and parcel of this nation. They have done great contribution to this country, and they cannot be excluded for anything. Honorable Speaker, the second issue, why the Deputy President must and he has to leave that office, is on the matters of national security. He is privy to National Security Council meetings. He attends. Sometimes he could chair. For him to come out and divulge those information to public of need-to-know basis, then it means he has crossed the red line. Honorable Speaker, the third issue is Article 147. The Deputy President is the principal assistant to the President. And sometimes when the President is away, he's delegated to be the President. This happened in the 11th Parliament when Uhuru Kenyatta was attending ICC. And he wrote down that President Ruto will act on his behalf. It can happen even this time. If we have a president who is already determined to discriminate some parts of the country, then how do we trust him with power? Honorable Speaker, lastly, he is not assisting or supporting the president. Finance Bill 2024-25 was thrown out by Parliament, was thrown out by the people. Not that people didn't want it, not Parliament didn't want it, because he never supported it. He kept on campaigning against the finance bill. For those reasons, Honorable Speaker, I think the Deputy President must be impeached. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Farah Maalim.
Mr. Speaker, I want to weigh on this motion. Mr. Speaker, we are not trying to reinvent the wheel again. We have had Deputy President. Before that, we have had Vice Presidents. One, Andrei Gromyko of Russia, was one time asked why he has remained as the Deputy President for so long. And somebody else said, to be a Deputy President, you have to have the capacity to sit on a block of ice with your pants down and make a green. A Deputy President is no more than a personal assistant to the President. And that's how it's provided for in all constitutions, all over. I haven't seen one in which certain executive authority is given to the Deputy President. In the US, if you remember very well, when John F. Kennedy was the president, there was a brother of John F. Kennedy who was Attorney General, who was called Bobby Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy literally did not think Lyndon B. Johnson was anything. But Lyndon B. Johnson kept tight, watched his cool, and later on he became the president of the US. In our own country, Mr. Speaker, can you protect me from our friends? In our own country here, I know many of you are not my age, you're younger than me, but a good number of you are also either my age or slightly older. When Moi was the vice president, which is the number 2, he was so humiliated, so much so that an SSP called Mungai slapped him in the State House in Nakuru when he was going to go and see his boss, who was the president. He did not complain publicly. He did not complain privately. He just went about his business. If you remember very well, when Kibaki was the deputy vice president of this country, which is number 2, he was dropped from being the number 2 and appointed a minister for health in the Moi government. He went to the president, thanked him for giving him the opportunity to be his vice for 11 years. Mr. Speaker, can you protect the House? It's too much sound.
Let's go on.
He thanked him for giving him an opportunity to serve as his assistant or as the vice president for 11 years and took up his job as the minister for health with a gusto and did a fantastic job as one of the best health ministers we've had in this country. Mr. Speaker, many people have been deputy presidents or vice presidents or number 2 in the executive here. I am glad I have been vindicated because about a year ago, I had said that Rigathi Gachagua is the worst number 2 in the history of this country. And I'm sure now I'm being vindicated.
Order. Order, members. Order, member. Is that Masara? Yes. Maintain your silence. Carry on.
I said exactly 1 year ago, Rigathi Gachagua is the worst #2 in the history of this country, whether a vice president or a deputy president. I'm glad I'm vindicated today. I remember when we had almost a collapse of the state and the nation in 2008, and we had the national accord on the floor of this house, and you were also a member of parliament. Raila Odinga was made the prime minister of this country. There was Raila Odinga, and there was also Kalonzo Musyoka, who was the vice president. Technically, in law, Raila was supposed to share 50-50 power with President Kibaki, but he was happy to say that he will support the president. And he supported the president until the term was over. I mean, that is what it's supposed to be. Here is somebody who literally, when this country is on the brink of certain serious problems, goes to Mombasa, and many of us believe that he was part of the so-called whatever, the riots that were there and the goons that attacked parliament. And then he creates a parallel press conference in Mombasa in which he castigates the policies of his own boss, including castigating people whose authority is driven by the appointment by the president and passed by this parliament, passed by this house. Mr. Speaker, this man is bad for this country. There is need, this man is a heartbeat away from the president. God forbid, if anything were to happen to our president, he is the president. He is a danger. There will be no Kenya.
1 minute.
If Gachagua has anything to do with, as far as I'm concerned, he did not even give me the benefit of saying that let's be careful with the Somalis, we don't like Somalis. He called us warrior. You know what I mean? He didn't give me even the respect or the courtesy. I could not say Mau Mau. I would say Kikuyus if I want to talk about Kikuyus, or look for any derogatory name. I will not look for that. He didn't give us even that respect of saying the Somalis of Kenya. He said warrior. They do not have any role. They are not shareholders in this government. And you know what? I come from a region, Wajir County alone is bigger than Central Province, Mountain Region, Western Province, and Nyanza put together. In Nyanza, and you have not gone to Garissa, you have not gone to Mandera, you have not gone to Marsabit, where we share with our Cushitic brothers, you have not gone to Shiloh. He's talking about half the country, and he thinks we are from Somalia.
Time is up. Your time is up. Yes, Dr. Kogo.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, my brother, for allowing me to pass on this information. Apart from what you have said, Mheshimiwa, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is on record for insulting women as malaias. And I want to go on record. He said that the one and only beautiful Honorable Jematia is a malaya. And somebody can negate that, and I have to say it. I thank you so much, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, your time is up. Give him 1 minute.
Okay, yeah, 1 minute. Mr. Speaker, Speaker.
Yes.
This country belongs to us all. This country belongs to all of us. If you try to marginalize me, and tomorrow I take up arms and decide to fight that, do you think there will be Kenya? Do you think 100,000 Somalis taking arms, there will be Kenya? Or 50,000 Turkanas? Or Sabaots? Or Pokots? This man is playing with this country. We shall not have stability, Mr. Speaker. We must have a country in which we all feel that we are loved and we are equals. Equals. Mr. Speaker, I support this motion of impeaching Gachagua. Let's do it the fastest possible, and we should never have somebody like him in future in any position of leadership. Mr. Speaker, we are all equals in this country. There's nobody who's more equal. We fought for independence. All of us fought for independence, although some will want to try and hide the...
Your time is up. Member for Turkana at the back. That is who? Emathe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to just give some comments on the same. Honorable Speaker, when the Deputy President was being sworn in at Kasarani, I only knew him as a personal assistant to the former President Uhuru. And after he spoke and he sat down, I was seated close to Honorable Kiborek. I told Honorable Kiborek that this is not going to be a good person, from the analogy that formerly he was a PA to the former president, and the manner in which he spoke to me was in the contrary. I just said that when he was being sworn in, I didn't know him. The only thing I knew about him was he was a PA. Now, the chicken have come home to roast. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say that I support his impeachment the same manner in which over 92% of my constituents in Turkana Central have agreed that we do the impeachment. Honorable Speaker, the impeachment is in two parts. There is the anti-corruption part of it, and there is the ethical or the ethics part of it. I want to speak on the ethics. And Honorable Speaker, here is a man who is full of himself. He is a very proud person, and Honorable Speaker, he doesn't even know what to say. He just speaks in the manner that does not depict him as the Deputy President of this country. Honorable Speaker, the Bible in the book of James brings out the bad part of the tongue. It says the tongue is this part of the body that is a world of evil. It is a fire. Honorable Speaker, the tongue corrupts the whole body. That is what the Bible says in the book of James. Honorable Speaker, in this juncture, I want to say that as a UDA member in the Kenya Kwanza government, I want to say that it says we are not in agreement to work together with the Deputy President. I am not in agreement as a member who was ascribed to the party that I may not be able to work with the Deputy President because we have to agree. And what we are processing today here, Honorable Speaker, is a divorce. We are processing a divorce because under Article 56, this is a man who will not be able to speak for the minorities. He is a man who will not speak for the marginalized. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, again, we are processing a divorce because this is akin to King Nebuchadnezzar, a man who was like everything in the Chaldean, in the city of Babylon. And Honorable Speaker, Kenya wants to unite. Kenya wants to kill the animal called tribalism. This is not the Deputy President that Kenya will require to kill the devil of tribalism. This is not the man who is ready to unite us. This is not the man who does not even know there are Elmolos in this country. He does not know that we have the Dasanach or the Merile in this country. Maybe at some point, because he has never been to Turkana, he does not even know the Turkanas exist in this country. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, this is not the man who can unite Kenya in the office of presidency. And therefore, I support his impeachment. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Edith Nyenze. Edith Nyenze.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this time to say what the great people of Kitui West have sent me to come and say. I know that the Bible has been quoted from the two divines in several ways, but I'm also going to quote the Bible And I'm going to quote from John, from chapter 8, from 7 to 11. And actually, these were teachers and of law and Pharisees who brought a woman to Jesus, and they said that they found the woman in the act. And then they said, according to the law of Moses, such a woman was found in adultery, and she was supposed to be stoned to death. But what Jesus told them, he told them that if they do not have sin amongst themselves, they should be the first ones to cast the stones. But what these people did, they just looked and ran away. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying this scripture actually highlights the importance of forgiveness and mercy, and challenges the self-righteousness and hypocrisy. Actually, what I want to say is that there is also reconciliation. Reconciliation should be given room. Dialogue should be given room. If there was dialogue with a former prime minister, there was handshake with a former prime minister, why not give dialogue to even the deputy president? So give dialogue, give reconciliation for the peace of this country. What the people of Gitui West told me is that they have more pressing issues. They have more pressing issues than this impeachment. And therefore they told me to say no to this impeachment, that they should be sorting their problems first before we even come to this impeachment. We have only 3 years to go before the end of the term. So why breach the peace? So whoever is righteous, let them be the first ones to cast the stone. Thank you.
Honorable Kororia. Honorable Kororia. Eh? I will give you. Kororia.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And I stand to support this special motion. The motion that regarding Gachagua, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, should go home. Honorable Speaker, I can remind this House that during the swearing-in ceremony at Kasarani, the Deputy President humiliated Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta so badly before the nation and the visiting dignitaries in the Republic of Kenya. That was not enough, Honorable Speaker. After 3 months, he started attacking young people in Mount Kenya region, calling them Mongeki, to an extent of attacking Maina Jenga and calling him the leader of Mongeki, Honorable Speaker. Later, Honorable Speaker, he was not comfortable and satisfied with that. He went ahead to refer to the members of parliament from Mount Kenya region as Gakonia and Kunda Gotome and Komereras, Honorable Speaker. That is not acceptable, Honorable Speaker, because we all come from the same region and we are elected by the people. He went ahead, Honorable Speaker, to attack Raila Odinga and the Azimio fraternity, and saying that he has put Mitego so that they will not enter State House. And he was supposed to put Mitegos so that they don't enter Karen residence because he's not a president. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that we do not have 2 centers of power in the Republic of Kenya. We only have 1 president, and the sentiments of Rigathi Gachagua that they were elected together with President William Ruto is a lie. The person who was elected is the president. Gachagua was just a running mate, and there were no votes for a running mate, Honorable Speaker. Finally, yesterday during a press briefing, Rigathi Gachagua referred to this Honorable House as a theater of the absurd. And he's coming to this same house today. I don't know whether you are going to compel him to substantiate if he's coming to a theater or Parliament of Kenya. With that, Honorable Speaker, I'm saying Gachagua must go.
Karoli Omondi.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to support this special motion of impeachment against the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, when the wheels of fortune have enabled someone to rise to high eminence, such as the office of Deputy President, so much is expected of them. Unfortunately, from my own personal interaction with the Deputy President, and shortly I will give some examples, I feel he has fallen short of the expectations of that high office. I first came across Mr. Gachagua in the late 80s when we were at the university. And as a matter of fact, he was ahead of us, and I think he was heading one of the district student organizations. He had cleared university, but he had not exited. In other words, he had become a pirate. That was the terminology we used then. He was residing in some place called State House Residence. And what I used to hear about him was not very impressive. But nonetheless, on October 7th, 2023, which was exactly 1 year ago, in some place called Murngia, Alego, at the homestead of the late General Francis Omondi Ogola, together with Mheshimiwa Elisha here, Mheshimiwa Nyamita, Honorable Jalango, I've seen him somewhere, and His Excellency the President, we did meet with the Deputy President. And it was about 6:45, he received us warmly, but we were guests of General Ogola. And as you'd expect, a man of his status, you expected some decorum, temperance, prudence, good behavior. But unfortunately, some of these attributes were not present in his conduct. The Deputy President on that occasion did stand up and tell the President to our face that he had come down to get him from the Nyanza tour that we were undertaking, and that he had no business staying for too long in Nyanza. I looked at him and I wondered what was the problem with his compos mentis. In other words, was he of sound mind? And then I asked myself, we were the guests of the late General, why would he want us to exit the homestead of General Ogola? And it bothered me very much, because clearly that was what you and I, as lawyers, we call animus nocendi, intention to harm. Why would he insist that the President has no business being in Nyanza? He said it to our face 3 times, interrupting General Ogola when we were being briefed about the attack that had just been conducted by Hamas on Israel. That was my first time to interact with him very closely. The second time was on April 30th, 2024. No, 28th April 2024, this year, when we had floods in Suba and several people died. I did communicate with him by way of text. I sent him pictures, including that of a gentleman who had lost 3 children. And I asked him to avail to me the state resources that I could use to alleviate the pain and loss of my people. He did not respond. He did not call back. He did not show any interest. On 30th April 2024, I did contact Honorable Kagushia, who was sitting next to him at a rally in Nyeri. And I saw Honorable Kagushia whispering to him my message. And they texted me back that the Deputy President would come back to me. He never did. On 6th of May 2024, I again reached out to him in his capacity as the coordinator of relief. He did not respond. I support this motion, and I want to say this. What I found with Honorable Gachagua is lack of education. Obama says, education is not a name of any degree or certificate that can be shown to others as proof. Education is the name of our attitude, actions, language, and behavior with others in real life. I'm on behalf of people of Suba South, I am supporting this motion, and I want to inform the House, our role today as a grand jury is not to establish beyond reasonable doubt any of these charges. Our role is very simple. Our role is to say we have found triable issues, frame the charges, leave that trial to the Senate. And once we do that, we shall have discharged our duty. Mr. Speaker, I fully support
divisive leader. Honorable Speaker, divisive leader. Honorable Speaker, and allow me to thank the mover of this motion, Honorable Mutuse, for the courage that he has shown and the 291 members who have signed this motion. Honorable Speaker, I say the courage because, Honorable Speaker, for a very long time, Kenyans have been watching helplessly, including the president of this country. They've been watching helplessly the deputy president moving around this country, dividing this country into shares and dividing this country in tribal lines. Honorable Speaker, let me say my reasons for supporting this motion. First reason, Honorable Speaker, in 2022, the country suffered a very bad drought, and the government responded by giving relief to the pastoral communities whose families, most families were left without able to feed their families. Honorable Speaker, the Deputy President took most of that relief food to areas that were not affected by drought. Honorable Speaker, Kenyans should understand that this is not a motion or an impeachment against a tribe. It is a motion to impeach an individual who has shown, to use the majority leader's word, a black man with a black heart. This is a man who has shown that he does not care about the country, but his interest is in a small region. But it is actually interest that is driven by self-interest. It is not that he loves that region. We have seen that what he has amassed wealth for himself and not for the region. So, Honorable Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Wamshomba. I thought you normally sit this side.
Thank you. Yes. The temperatures there are too high. Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead.
I rise to defend the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, against what I am calling mob justice, a process that has not given him the right of reply, a process that has gone on, presented some fact charts to the villages, and disseminated information to the members of public without giving him the opportunity to defend himself.
Hold your horses, Wamchomba. I was consulting with KJ. I didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat? Can you repeat what you said?
I can't hear you, Mr. Speaker.
Repeat what you said. I didn't hear. I was consulting with Honorable Member for Dagoretti.
I have said I rise to defend the Deputy President, the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, against a process that I feel, personally as my opinion, it is mob justice against the Deputy President because he has not been given the right of reply before we went for public participation. That is what I've said.
Honorable Wamchomba.
According to the standing order here.
Honorable Wamchomba, that is neither factual nor legal because the Deputy President is appearing before this House at 5. So be factual.
Mr. Speaker,
yes.
Please allow me to execute my point, then you can guide. Procedurally, Mr. Speaker, the fact sheets that were distributed in our constituencies had allegations that were read out to members of public as facts. So to me, the fact sheets that were distributed in our constituencies were fact sheets that were communicating facts. But from where I come from, Mr. Speaker, what was typed in those papers was not factual and needed to be interrogated. And I'm glad that the Deputy President is appearing in an hour's time here to come and clear the air. Mr. Speaker, before I defend and I give my submission, I request you to allow me to refer to the Standing Order number 91 on responsibility for statement of facts. A member shall be responsible for accuracy and facts for whatever allegations that comes and disseminates from this house. Mr. Speaker, this morning we were watching video clips on our television in this house. Those video clips that were played in this house were reported speeches that were reported from various media houses in this country. Mr. Speaker, according to the Kenyan Constitution and the Data Protection Act, it is our duty to clarify information before we disseminate and use it for a quasi-judicial process like we are handling today. Mr. Speaker, I would want your guidance whether those media clips that were used this morning in the floor of this house by the mover of this motion, whether those media clips were qualified to be used in this process of impeachment. Mr. Speaker, my other issue is I will be glad that the mover of this motion clarifies that the allegation around the corruption issues on procurement matters have been taken through the right areas of Auditor General so that we can have fact to discuss this afternoon. Otherwise, according to me, the allegations that have been tabled by the mover of these motions are mere mudslinging, they are hearsay, they are gossips, and they must stop. And Mr. Deputy President must continue working for this country with all the energy, with all the labor, and with all the love that he has had. And those that feel that Mr. Deputy President has been biased into Mount Kenya politics, please forgive us, but we must tell you, everybody has their home. The Deputy President comes from Mount Kenya, and every good thing starts from Jerusalem. Even Jesus had to start his good work from Jerusalem. We are the Jerusalem. We shall continue allowing the Deputy President to do the work he's been doing in Mount Kenya, even as he tries and attempts to work in other parts of this country. I have personally escorted the Deputy President in other areas outside Mount Kenya. I know Mr. Deputy President has tried. It is barely 2 years before Mr. Deputy President continues with his work. Please allow him space to work. 2 years are not sufficient. Even for the members in this house know very well. They have also not been able to do what they promised their voters during campaigns. We are all elected members here, and we know we made pledges, and 2 years are not sufficient for anybody to use that as a basis to judge anybody on the performance. I support that the Deputy President be given the opportunity to serve this country, and those that are attacking the Deputy President for working on behalf of the Mount Kenya region, they must also accept that everybody has a village where they come from, everybody has a home where they come from, and every good thing starts from Jerusalem, just like Jesus Christ did. Asanteni sana, and I refuse. The Deputy President is going nowhere. He's going to stay here to serve us. To serve us as we gave him votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this very important motion. Mr. Speaker, an English saying goes that a sheep, lives its entire life afraid of the wolf, only to be slaughtered and eaten by the shepherd. To the people of Mount Kenya, you know we are farmers. You know we have tea, we have coffee, we have milk, and that is the food crops that we rely on. Mr. Speaker, I happen to be elected as a director of KTDA, where we hold small-scale tea farmers and where we do business for the farmers. Mr. Speaker, we have had a problem, a huge problem, of monies being diverted to the said hotel in Kilifi. Last year, the money that was supposed to be going to distribute fertilizer, 53 million shillings, Mr. Speaker, was diverted to go to personal use at a hotel. Mr. Speaker, as we speak here, as we stand here, the people of Mount Kenya have been burning their tea bushes and factories because we have a glut in Mombasa that has been occasioned by the influence of the Deputy Speaker who was given, by the Deputy President who was charged with the responsibility of making sure that those people who voted the government in benefit and reap from their hard work and their sweat. Mr. Speaker, they will not see the hard-earned money that was supposed to go to their pockets because the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, after being charged with the responsibility of making sure that we have guaranteed minimum returns for those farmers, he continued to go and give guaranteed minimum returns to himself and to his family, to his children, to his spouse, and to his colleagues that we have seen they share companies with. Mr. Speaker, as we stand here, we have lost our milk industry. We have lost our coffee industry. You have seen that we have cooperatives where farmers are now stuck with their coffee. Because, again, the person who was charged with the responsibility of making sure that the sheep is safe is the one who went, took a knife, and ate the same sheep. Mr. Speaker, I know there might be some tension and people from the mountain feeling like everybody has been talking about the mountain, but even the mountain people are suffering, even us, because there's someone who just hides under the pretext that he's an honest man, he's a truthful man, but he's a truthful liar, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, I want to say this: the seat of the presidency is a symbol of unity in this country. And when the deputy president stands and accuses the NIS, like he did in Mombasa, we live in a community, and even the people who are in the intelligence sector live in a community. There is a community, a world community of intelligence. When you disparage such an office, such a high office that is supposed to make sure that you protect and give us protection in this country, Mr. Speaker, that to me is gross misconduct and it is impeachable. Mr. Speaker, when you go to State House and you say that you have put traps for some people not to access State House, yet they are members of this republic, yet there are people that we respect like Raila Odinga, Honorable Raila Odinga. Mr. Speaker, we say that we cannot continue like that because we had lived a very good life before this campaign started from 2022 when people said that we are going to vote not anymore along the tribal lines. But we have seen that we have someone who has been given position of power and he has decided to use it for his own personal aggrandizement. Mr. Speaker, the people who are watching the interview yesterday, they sat and asked, how is it that the people who are of age and people who've been doing business have not been able to access 600 million shillings in a bank? How many business people here have accessed 600 million shillings and what is their collateral? Mr. Speaker, you have had the deputy president lying in front of the television, saying that he has gotten this wealth from his brother, yet we know his brother has his heirs who are his sons and his widow, and those people are crying in Nyeri. The same way, people who are my members of parliament, my constituents like Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, is crying. His goats were eaten the other day in Roiro. And he's the one who sanctioned the eating of his goats. In fact, he then comes and lies to us that he has apologized to the president, to the former president, who is not in the country.
Your time is up. Ken Chonga. Ken Chonga.
Asante mstahiki Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii nichangie mswada huu ambao uko mbele ya bunge. Mstahiki Spika, mimi sijaokoka na nimesikia wenzangu kila wakichangia hapa wanataja sehemu fulani za Biblia ambazo kwamba zinaambatana na matamshi ambayo wanataka huko yazungumza, lakini kwa kwamba kweli kuna mbinguni na kuna hera, nafikiria Rigathi Gachagua atakuwa kuni za kuchoma ambao watachomwa. Na kisa na sababu mstahiki Spika ni uongo ambao kwamba Deputy President ameujaza katika matamshi yake. Jana jioni nilichukua muda wangu, mstahiki Spika, kumsikiza hoja ile ambayo kwamba alikuwa anaizungumzia. Ninashukuru kunipa nafasi hii kwa sababu mmoja kati ambaye aliguswa pale ni mimi. Mimi nikiwa mbunge wa Kilifi South ama Kilifi Kusini, ile hoteli ya Gachagua pale mahali imejengwa iko eneo bunge langu mimi. Na yale aliyozungumza bwana deputy governor jana ulikuwa ni uongo mtupu. Sorry, deputy president. Kitu cha kwanza, mstahiki Speaker, wakati King Charles III alipokuja ndio aende atembelee kule chini Kuruwitu, alikuwa amekuja kwa mwaliko wa Kuruwitu Conservancy CBO. Na wakati alipofika kwa Kuruwitu Conservancy CBO, mkutano ule haukuchukua zaidi ya dakika 30, akaenda Vipingo Ridge. Ile barabara ambayo kwamba aliomba kwamba itengenezwe kwa sababu angetaka kuhifadhi Vipingo Kuruwitu Conservancy, ile barabara haipitiki. Lakini deputy president akaona amepata nafasi nzuri sana ile barabara, baada ya kwamba iende kwa Kuruwitu Conservancy, akachukua ile barabara akaijenga, akiipeleka kwake hotelini, imeshia pale kwa hoteli yake. Na ninaongea kwa sababu mimi pia nimejenga hapo. Bwana deputy president alisema kwamba watu waliomba hiyo barabara ijengwe, kulikuwa na public participation. Ni kweli kabisa, tuliomba ya kwamba barabara ile ijengwe, lakini hii kwamba ni uhusiano wake yeye na wenyeji wa Kuruwitu, kwamba ni uhusiano ambao ni mzuri, wanaelewana, na kwamba hata mbunge eneo hilo anajua. Mimi nasema ashindwe katika jina la Yesu. Siyajui hayo. Sikuhusishwa kuhusu barabara ambayo alimepeleka kwa hoteli yake. Tatu, bwana Speaker, mheshimiwa Speaker, deputy president alisema ya kwamba barabara ile inafaidi watu wengi sana ambao kwamba wanaishi maeneo yale. Akataja kwamba kuna Vipingo, Shariani Secondary School. Mimi ninajua mahali Shariani Secondary School ipo, wala haifaidiki na ile barabara. Akataja kuhusu Shariani Primary School. Shariani Primary School ukitaka kuaccess unaipata kwa hiyo main highway ya kutoka njia panda ya kutoka Mtwapa kuelekea Kilifi na kuelekea Malindi. Kusema ukweli kabisa, yale aliyokuwa nazungumza kuhusu wekezo ule ni wa uongo. Tatu, ile nyumba ambayo kwamba ilikuwa ni ndugu yake, sisi tulijua toka ilipokuwa zamani. Na ukweli kama utafatwa, itabainika wazi ya kwamba bwana deputy president aidha awe alinunua kutoka kwa ndugu yake ama awe amemuibia ndugu yake. Ni jambo la kuhuzunisha. Akisema ya kwamba mali ile yote ambayo iliachwa, yeye ameachiwa percentage fulani kubwa kushinda wale watoto. Kama ukweli si uongo, basi si anasherehekea kifo cha ndugu yake. Ni nani mwenye akili zake timamu ataacha urithi au peane kwa ndugu yake, asahau watoto wake, asahau bibi zake, asahau binamu zake, hali yeye anasema kwamba yeye ni mtu kuna mali? Mimi sijawahi kumuunga mkono kwa lolote, na ninajua nyumba hii iko na hisia tofauti kulingana na masuala ya deputy president. Wakati nilipeleka public participation Kilifi South, 95%
Give him 1 minute.
Na asante sana mstahiki Speaker. Na asije akasema ya kwamba yeye alichaguliwa na watu sijui milioni 7, na ukweli wa mambo ni kwamba sisi ambao tuko hapa kama wabunge, sisi ndio tuna represent wale watu ambao walitualika pale. Kwa hivyo asiseme kwamba sisi hatuna uwezo wa kutoa amri au mamlaka ya kwamba yeye agatuliwe mamlakani. Langu ninasihi, wakati umefika. Unajua Mungu akitaka kukumaliza hukuweka kichaa. Mimi sijasema kwamba deputy president akona kichaa. Ninasema tu ya kwamba matamshi yake kama hata chunga yataelekeza kwamba tumshuku katika akili zake. Asante Musaiki Speaker.
Bashir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I want to make it clear that I support this special motion by Honorable Mutuse. Honorable Speaker, there are 11 counts as contained in this special motion. What these 11 counts in total summarize and talk about is gross misconduct and issues of integrity. The holder of the office of the Deputy President is not a small man. He is just a heartbeat away from the presidency. Looking at the behaviors, actions, utterances of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua shows you that he does not befit to hold the office of the Deputy President. Honorable Speaker, time and again, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua has been talking about Murima, Murima, Murima. But one thing I want people to know is that the same Murima has people who have been elected by the same representative and who are in this house representing the people of Mount Kenya. Rigathi Gachagua is not the sole representative of Mount Kenya. They have MPs, they have women reps, they have senators, they have governors. He is supposed to represent each and every part of this country called Kenya. Unfortunately, he doesn't understand that bit. Sometimes in July, in a well-attended press conference in Mombasa, intelligence services, and especially in the person of Director General. Now, look at this case. The Deputy President is a member of NSAC, the National Security Advisory Council. He sits in that council. If there are issues that he has with individuals running those institutions, the best place will have been that council. Now, you've been the Deputy President of the country. Instead of addressing matters in a perfect and constitutional manner, you address the press and taint the images of such officers, critical officers of security. That itself is quite unfortunate. Honorable Speaker, I listened to the press conference last night. One thing that perturbed me was the issue of His Excellency saying, I have gotten all these wealth from my brother. Now I'm asking myself, he doesn't have wealth of his own that he can tell the people? How come he is the one who gets more of the shares than the widows and the orphans? It's also unfortunate that the same Rigathi Gachagua was at one point a district officer in 1997. He was sacked for stealing relief food. What is relief food supposed to go to? To the vulnerable people, vulnerable community of that area. He stole the relief food. We cannot continue to entrust one Rigathi Gachagua with the office of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. We call upon this House to make history for the first time under the new Constitution to say that Rigathi Gachagua does not befit to hold the office of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. The President and the Deputy President are supposed to work in harmony. They are not working in harmony. The President sometimes goes out of the country.
Sorry, Ruth Odinga. Give her the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise today not just as a member of this esteemed House, but as a daughter, a sister, and a proud descendant of those who fought tirelessly for the freedom we hold dear. I urge us to reflect on the values upon which our great nation was built as we consider the impeachment of the Deputy President. I want to take you back to the times before independence. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga is one of the people who fought for independence. And the colonialists actually offered him to be to become the president of Kenya. He declined and left that for Jomo Kenyatta to become the president. And in 1964, Jaramogi became the first vice president of the Republic of Kenya. Exactly 2 years down the line, like the 2 years we now have with the deputy president, Jaramogi decided that due to the ideologies that he was holding, which differed from the president, he decided to step down and leave the position of vice president, not for his own good, but for the greater good of the Republic of Kenya. He actually stepped down. I would like, in my own statement, to ask the deputy president that Kenya is larger than you. Kenya is a big country that we need to protect. If I were you, Mr. Deputy President, please take the honorable route that some of your predecessors had taken, like Jaramogi, and step down from this position of presidency. Don't take Kenya through the valley of the abyss the dark abyss you want Kenya to go through. Secondly, I would like to say something. I was not one of the people who was actually wanting this impeachment of the deputy president. I felt that the deputy president's impeachment was not the main problems that we were having in Kenya, and that we had other issues. But having heard how the president spoke last night, I am completely convinced from that statement that the deputy president must go, and he must go as soon as possible. One of the reasons why I say that is that we are not here for our personal grandiose and our personal wealth. Kenya, if the deputy president is mourning because his father is going to turn in his grave because of the wealth that is being accused of, I wonder what the people like Bildad Kagia, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, and all those who fought for us to get through this, to get to where we are, through multi-party. Oginga Odinga and all went through house arrest, detention, to make sure that we get the multi-party that we are enjoying in this country, the democracy that we are enjoying. How are they feeling in their grave when now the deputy president is talking about making Kenya a company? What company are you talking about, and shareholders? When Kenya is a country that we have a sovereign country in Kenya. Mr. Deputy President, I was a bit on your side, but you have hanged yourself with your own rope. Whoever informed you to go to the TV yesterday did you a very big disservice. And for that, I support the motion.
Mbura Aburi.
Asanti Bwana Spika kunipa nafasi hii. Yangu ni kidogo sana. Nikusema ya kwamba tunataka naibu wa rais yule ambaye si mkabila. Kwa sababu nchi yetu ya Kenya ni kubwa sana kusinda mtu. Tukiongea mambo ya mlima, kule kwangu Tigania East, tuko katikati ya mlima. Lakini ukiangalia katika hii kitabu ambaye, ukiangalia haya mashtaka yaliyo katika kitabu hii, ukiangalia ile mashtaka katika kitabu hii, ile zile kampani zote ziko hapa ni za Gachagua, bibi yake na watoto wake. hakuna Mtigania, hakuna Mwegembe, hakuna Muimenti, hakuna Mluya. That means yeye mwenyewe alikuwa anatetea tumbo yake. Ndipo mimi niko hapa kusema eti ya kwamba sisi hatupembelezani. Sisi tunasema kwamba lazima aende nyumbani kwa sababu amekataa kuangalia mambo ya wananchi wa Kenya, na Kenya ni kubwa. Ingine ni hii. Mimi nimekaa kule East Africa Community kipindi ya miaka 5. Nilikuwa na Jematia ambaye ni dada yangu. Katika kipindi ya miaka 5 sijawahi kusikia Jematia akiwa no malaya, lakini naibu wa rais alisimama akasema kwamba Jematia ni malaya. Ya kwamba mimi nikiwa Mpono mtu abori na support naibu wa rais aende nyumbani. Asante sana. Thank you.
Women Rep Busia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support with a lot of strength this motion because many times I thought I was a tenant in Kenya. And I know I was born and raised in this nation. When a leader of a national figure discriminates openly, I left myself wondering if we can keep allowing to be divided every day, and yet as leaders we must be a factor that unites all Kenyans. I want to ask the Deputy President, what message was he sending to Busians who voted for Honorable Maina in Marachi West, in Butlak sub-county? And what message was he sending to Busians who voted for Honorable Talam in Buhayo West, in Matayos, Busia County? We should be free from Mombasa to Turkana, any person of any race, any tribe, to stand and be elected without being pointed at as this one belonging to a particular region and that one not belonging to our region. Because Kenya is our country and we are here in this country to build it. If we don't join, because if you go as an individual, you are a drop in the ocean. But together as Kenyans, we are an ocean. So I want to ask again, what other thing a principal assistant is supposed to do? According to me, unless you have a shrunken hippocampus in your brain, then you go displaying what your master is doing instead of being the real assistant of even covering up. One day he says, I was sent all these things I was saying. I was sent all these things I'm saying. It's like he is wearing an oversized coat, oversized trouser, a tumbo cut vest, and oversized shoe. He does not understand his role as a principal assistant. We must unravel from the seams of our fabric in this country, because sometimes you can be wearing a dress or a trouser, but something keeps biting you. Unless you unravel or open up the seam to know what is biting you, you will continue losing blood and become anemic. So a people of any nation are stronger than the people in power. All leaders in this nation must be responsible of the utterances they puke every day, because what will our future leaders be saying? I am, or who is our role model? Who is their role model? All of us must be responsible not to give hate speech anywhere we go. And I don't think there is a tribe in Kenya that is superior than others. Whether you come from Eastern in Garissa or you come from Siamahanga village where I live, you are equal. Article 27, Section 4 is clear about this, that we should not discriminate. When I hear a widow in Mount Kenya being tortured, being snatched property by the deputy president, whether she is Kikuyu and she's a widow, she is representing all the widows in Kenya. So Gachagua return the matrimonial property, the bank accounts, everything that you took from that widow in Nyeri. Because I was raised by a widow and I know what happens when such things happen. A widow should be given their rights, whether you have all the muscle in the nation. And thirdly, a leader who does not respect women, that one is not a leader. calling women prostitutes. So when a woman is being a prostitute, who is the other prostitute? Then he must be the one. Because if you call me a prostitute, was I doing myself? There must be somebody in a trouser too. And we do not want to be discriminated. We have been dating, marriage, we marry Kikuyu, Luya, Teso, Kamba. That should continue happening than us growing up or children fearing to marry from Mount Kenya or fearing to marry from Nyanza. That is wrong. So Deputy President must go home. We really want him to just take a rest. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Muya, what's your point of order?
Speaker, I'm standing on standing order number 91 on matters of facts and substantiating what the member is speaking of. The issue of Malaya have been adversely mentioned in this House. Have you as the Speaker received anything to substantiate? Honorable Speaker, it is on record that the Deputy Speaker, the Deputy President has been closing the whole country, campaigning for the same women, especially in Mount Kenya where he was assigned. So it is unfair that members can continue repeating, you cannot substantiate, and there is no evidence. We should have evidence.
Honorable members, order. Take your seat. Honorable members, I want, with your concurrence, to reduce the time of the speakers to 2 minutes. Is that agreed? Is that agreed? For the purpose of the record, I'll put the question that we reduce time for speakers from 5 minutes to 2 minutes. As many as of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Didymus, 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I want to be very clear that I support this impeachment motion. I say so because Kenya, we have more than 42 tribes. And it was never our permission to decide which tribe you belong to, Honorable Speaker. And we want every part of our country to feel part and parcel or properly represented by our Deputy President. The continued dividing of our country in shares, Honorable Speaker, in terms of how many votes that a particular area voted for the government, Mr. Speaker, it is making parts of this country feel like they're not part of this country. I think, in a nutshell, Honorable Speaker, because of time, I want to summarize what I want to say by saying that Kenya as a country, the position of the Deputy President, it requires a patriot. It requires an individual whom, when he speaks, the country listens with optimism. It doesn't require an individual who, when he opens his mouth, part of this country begins to bleed. This country doesn't require a villager in the name of the Deputy President. It requires a patriot, a statesman. And this House, Mr. Speaker, we will go down in the history of this country because the war against tribalism, the war against segregating this country along shareholding lines, it's a war that we have come a long way, Honorable Speaker. It's a war that we vowed that we must win it in installments, and today we are paying the last installment. Regarding Gachagua must go home, not by walking, but by running, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Member for Wajir West. Please, here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First, I rise, Mr. Speaker, reluctantly but firmly in support of all the articles of this motion. Mr. Speaker, I say reluctantly because of the following reasons. Normally, Mr. Speaker, as a Muslim leader, I don't rush to support this grave matter like this, to remove the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya from office after just 2 years of election. But because of the conduct, the behavior of the Deputy President of this country, Mr. Speaker, I have no option but support this motion. Mr. Speaker, I am a witness who went to the office of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya to request for assistance during the drought season, to request for relief food for the people of Wajir West. But the utterances of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya was shocking, Mr. Speaker. He told me, Mr. Speaker, and I want to confirm to this House, that the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya told me you have more than your share. It was shocking. I was dejected, hopeless, and left the office in protest, Mr. Speaker. Who disrespected and discriminated against the people I represent in this House. Mr. Speaker, today, as we speak, it's a historic day. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, for unity of this House, of the country.
Your time is up. Your time is up. Member for Tetu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You have 2
Mr.
minutes.
Speaker, from the onset, I rise to oppose this motion, to this special motion on removal from office by impeachment of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, when a man is down in the spirit of Ubuntu, it is not good to crush him. On Sunday, the Deputy President at the National Prayer Altar stood and apologized profusely to his boss, to fellow Kenyans, and indeed to all the members of this House. Mr. Speaker, I feel that our party, UDA, on which the Deputy President was elected, has internal disciplinary mechanisms which have not been exhausted so as to bring this matter to this House. I also feel that in the spirit of us finishing the agenda that we promised Kenyan, this matter can wait to 2027 so that we can focus on service delivery to our people. Mr. Speaker, I will personally request the members of this House to find it in their heart to forgive the Deputy President. And I will personally.
Mr. Speaker, you have had honorable telling this House, I didn't decide to sign.
The matter
and that finish up.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, the matter of my signing, you talked about it, and the matter is rested. Wanjara can come to your office for further explanation. Mr. Speaker, I personally would like to volunteer to lead other leaders in this country, elders, bishops, to ensure that we sit down with the Deputy President so that if there are any issues that he needs to correct, if there are any issues that he needs to align, he can align so that himself can continue serving the people of this country. He has some good in himself, and that good needs to be preserved so that he can finish his work. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose. Thank you.
Umi. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the motion of impeachment because of many reasons. Mr. Speaker, as a young person and as a representative of the House for the Youth, I wonder how many young people of this country can walk into a bank and access a loan of 600 million shillings without any guarantees of any sort. Mr. Speaker, this is a representation of impunity. The Deputy President stood before the media yesterday as a national leader to defend his children. I respect that he stood to defend his children, but how many children of this country has he given a chance for them to access the same benefits? Myself included, I cannot access a loan of that amount of money. Mr. Speaker, this impeachment motion is not just an impeachment because of difference of ideology, but it will be a symbol of democracy for our country, that people who abuse their powers can go home, regardless of whatever position they hold. Mr. Speaker, I come from Garissa County. We lost residents from my county at an accident as they were accessing to cross a river because of the flood scandal. Mr. Speaker, out of the 10 billion shillings that he had under his pocket, he only gave us 48 million shillings and disappeared and never showed up again. Mr. Speaker, what can 48 million shillings do for people who are suffering? Mr. Speaker, he did not even step in Wajir and Mandera. This is a deputy president of the whole country. I support the impeachment. He must go home and create a room for other people to get that position. Maybe it's time for other regions to be deputies so that we can get the same benefits. Mr. Speaker, I can even do a good job myself. Mr. Speaker.
Your time is up, Jen Kagiri. If you read the Constitution, you'll know that you don't qualify to be a deputy president at your age. Jen Kagiri.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion. Honorable Speaker, when I was elected in the year 2022, in the month of August, I was a very grateful person to God, and I knew my work was to serve the people of Laikipia County. A county that is cosmopolitan, that has Pokot, that has Turkanas, that has Maasais, that has Samburus, that has the Muslims, it has the Somalis, and all these people, inclusive of the Kikuyus, came together and gave me their votes. That is what comprises of Laikipia County. Honorable Speaker, the point at which I differed with His Excellency the Deputy President is when he started talking about Mlima. I realized Laikipia County is not Mlima after all, because Mlima, people have running water from taps. In Mlima, people have tarmac roads. In Mlima, people don't suffer human-wildlife conflicts. But in Laikipia County, we have all those challenges. So, Honorable Speaker, that was the first point where we differed. The second point, Your Honorable Speaker, is when there was the talk of 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. In Laikipia County, we are among the counties that have the least population. When you talk of 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, it means you're talking of reduction on resources for my people. That one I would not accept. Honorable Speaker, I remain a Kikuyu. But sadly, since our difference in opinion with His Excellency the Deputy President, I have been the poster girl of his intimidation, of his insults, of his blackmail, of his coercion, telling me that I should not engage the national government, that I should not follow up for resources for my people. Honorable Speaker, once in a while, a generation is called upon to stand for something. Today, I stand for an end to insult, a respect to the dignity of leaders, a respect to my people, Honorable Speaker.
Give her a minute. Give her, okay, wind up.
Honorable Speaker, in my conclusion, I must state, many people have called us traitors, have assumed money has been received for this action. But Honorable Speaker, I want to make it very clear. I need no money for the restoration of dignity in this house. I need no money for the restoration of respect to women in this house. I need no money for resources to reach my people of Laikipia County. Honorable Speaker, I submit and I support. Thank you.
Oundo.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, my attention is drawn to Article 125 of the Constitution. And Article 125 of the Constitution makes reference to the effect that any matter before that the Parliament has got the same powers as High Court. Out of that, Honorable Speaker, then I'm left to look at the evidence presented by my good friend, Honorable Mutuse, and wonder, does it really meet the threshold of any form of evidence as required at the High Court? Honorable Speaker, I have looked at the various options or breaches that constitute impeachment: gross violation, crime, gross misconduct, and so many other things, Honorable Speaker. I'm at pain, Honorable Speaker, going through this to find anything that has been proved beyond reasonable doubt to move this House, Honorable Speaker, to take such a drastic action. Considering, Honorable Speaker, these are people elected under Article 148, and the framers of the new Constitution, Honorable Speaker, deliberately inserted Article 148 to avoid the kind of abuse that had been there in the past. Honorable Speaker, if we get to this level, Honorable Speaker, if we get to this level, everybody will be left wondering, what is the role of Parliament in protecting the Constitution? Honorable Speaker, and I want to rephrase Luke 23, verse 4. I find no case against this.
Roku. He didn't ask for it. Roku. He didn't ask for any addition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from onset, I rise to support this motion. Mr. Speaker, when I'm standing here, I'm thinking about the children of the most remote places in the Republic of Kenya. I'm thinking about the children in the remote places in Turkana, in Mandera, in Bere, very remote places, Mr. Speaker. It reminds me on Article 10 of our Constitution, which talks about the national values and principles of governance. And one of the principles which is enshrined in our Constitution, Mr. Speaker, is protection of the marginalized. We have seen the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, who in many occasions has forgotten that he represents even the most marginalized places, corners of our country. That the numbers of these small communities in the Republic, they have the right, just like any other big community in our Republic. We have seen the smirk, the arrogance, the contempt which the Deputy President of the Republic has to the minority groups in the Republic of Kenya. And coming from a marginalized community, a community which has been marginalized from 1963, Mr. Speaker, I want to state here and now that it's high time we sanitize the office of the Deputy President. Mr. Speaker, last week on Sunday, I was in...
Your time is up. Your time is up. Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also stand to support the motion by my good brother, the Honorable Mutuse, in impeaching the person of the Deputy President of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, under unwarranted discrimination, in contravention of Article 27, Part 3 and 4 of the Constitution, the Deputy President has in so many occasions expressed that he only considers people he considers shareholders. Honorable Speaker, on the 2 occasions that the Deputy President came to Gusiland, on the first occasion while addressing leaders, he told us that the reason why, as Kisses, we should not demand for more things from the government is because we always vote for Mutu wa kitendawili, to quote him. On the second occasion, the Honorable Deputy President told us that siku hizi wa Kisii tumejaa jela kushinda wa Kikuyu. I'm wondering, Honorable Speaker, when did he do the statistics to note that sisi kama wa Kisii, we are the most criminals in this country? And Honorable Speaker, as I finish, I just want to remind the Deputy President. Yesterday, he spent a lot of time reminding us that he is an orphan. And yet he forgot that there is one orphan that the Deputy President kept saying that he has put for him Mitego in State House. The Honorable Deputy President forgets that even the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is an orphan. Why did he forget that he was putting for him Mutego? I just want to tell the Deputy President that because of the utterances that you make against people of Kenya, you must go, and you will go home. I thank you.
Malolo Njendi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this motion strongly Mr. Speaker, this country has once suffered tribal clashes. Mr. Speaker, the Deputy President has been always talking about Central Kenya, Mlima, etc., etc., Mr. Speaker, whipping up the tribal feelings. Mr. Speaker, if we allow the Deputy President to continue holding that particular position in the country, Mr. Speaker, what will happen in this country is that most of these other tribes will feel domination of this particular community, will feel intimidation by this community, and they will rise up, gang up against the community of Central Kenya, not because they are liking it, but because of his sentiments and because of what he speaks. Mr. Speaker, this person has been in office for 2 years, but he appears not to have had the conscience to know the kind of office he's holding, and that's why he speaks the way he speaks of regions. Mr. Speaker, I wonder how.
Order, honorable members, order.
I wonder how a person holding that kind of office can keep on talking of Kuweka Miteko State House for people who did not vote for this government, not to enter, not to access. Mr. Speaker, because of Kuweka Miteko, kila mahali kwa kona State House has affected some of us when he was still very active in State House, blocking us from accessing State House. Mr. Speaker, the whole issue of shares, I want to tell people from Western Kenya, we are suffering from this because of his input and insisting, embarrassing the president. When he wants to help persons from West Kenya, he says those people don't deserve to have the share they're having in the government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Robert Mbui. Robert Mbui.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Being in leadership, I'll give you 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I've noticed, listening to the arguments that have been passed here this afternoon, and also earlier in the morning, I've noticed that it's getting a little personal, and I'm feeling a little jittery, because I know the subject matter is a person who is a family man with a wife and children, and friends and relatives, and they're all listening. So I think maybe I will start by reading the Bible so that we can bring down the temperatures. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32 says, "Be kind, compassionate, and forgiving to each other in the same way God forgave you in Christ." Now, verse 31, Mr. Speaker, says, "Put aside all bitterness, losing your temper, anger, shouting, and slander, along with every other evil." Mr. Speaker, as a member of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, I didn't believe in the leadership of Kenya Kwanza. I am vindicated now because I can tell the people of Kadhiani that I said that this government is rudderless, is leaderless, is planless. And Mr. Speaker, is also merciless, because within a very short time, the center can no longer hold. Mr. Speaker, former Senator, now Governor James Orengo, famously said in Senate that governments eat their own people. Former leader of majority of the National Assembly, Duale, was eaten by his government. Today is a CS. Former Deputy Speaker of the Senate, Kidhura Kindiki, was eaten by his government. Now he's also a CS. Former Chair of Budget of this National Assembly was eaten by his government. Today is the majority leader. I don't know. We are now eating Rigiji. Where will he end up? Mr. Speaker, I have an issue of concern, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, is a Deputy Leader of Minority to assert that I was eaten by my own government, Honorable Speaker. Whereas he knows I was never eaten by any government. I only stood firm against tyranny. I stood firm against the bullying that I experienced under that regime. The same bullying I have stood firm against a Deputy President today who has been bullying members of Parliament. And I have only put my chest forward to defend the rights of all these members, including the Honorable Robert Mbui, who was Honorable Speaker, when the Deputy President visited Kathiani. He said to the Honorable Mbui that these Kambas are too few. They can never make a president. Kalonzo can never be anything. How can you defend a person who has disdain for Kalonzo Musyoka, a former vice president of this country, Mbui?
Robert Mbui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I love the passion and the humor in the majority leader. But Mr. Speaker, I'm also impressed by the energy that I've seen in this house, the vigor, the passion from morning. I mean, it is the first bill, or rather it's the first motion where this house has gone up to public participation in the constituencies. Mr. Speaker, I only wish that the energy that we are expending here to send a question to all Kenyans about one individual was being used to fight the issues that are failing us in our education, in our health sector. People here, the cost of living has gone too high. People have no jobs. Mr. Speaker, those are the things that this House should passionately deal with. But Mr. Speaker, for a whole day, and from, I don't know, even the last week or 2 weeks, to deal with that one matter, Mr. Speaker, I think that we are losing direction. And it is important, Mr. Speaker, that we deal with the things that are affecting our people. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the education sector, I talked about it here the other day. We don't even have classes for grade 9 going into JSS. Mr. Speaker, the funding model for university has failed. Mr. Speaker, the insurance sector, NHIF, is having a problem, Mr. Speaker. How then do we spend taxpayers' money and time to come and deal with a matter of one single individual, Mr. Speaker? Now we are told that this person, Mr. Speaker, is a tribalist. But Mr. Speaker, those comments that he made, yesterday he made it very clear. And I was shocked. I was very shocked, Mr. Speaker, yesterday, to realize that in fact Kenya Kwanza was actually a company that is limited by shares and that people negotiated shares for themselves. The mover of the motion is a member of MCCP. MCCP negotiated shares for Lower Eastern. Mr. Speaker, because we had 2 cabinet secretaries in this government. Now, Mr. Speaker, we only have 1. And I'm telling you, Mr. Speaker, actions speak louder than words. The Deputy President may have said that he is a shareholder and there are issues about his community, but if you look at the appointments that are being made in Kenya, then you will realize that the person of the President himself is the one who is the biggest tribalist, Mr. Speaker, because he's appointing people from his own community for every position. Mr. Speaker, if we have to find a situation school has failed, you do not fire the deputy principal. You get rid of the principal. Our problem is not the deputy. It is the head.
Yes, Farah.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, Farah.
Mr. Speaker, I was standing. Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Mr. Speaker.
Robert Mbui, you are normally more decent than that.
This is a house of. Mr. Speaker, protect me. Mr. Speaker, my point of order is this. This is a house of rules. This is a law-making body. This is the place where our constitution itself was passed. You cannot bring, talk about a president or even any other head of state of a friendly country without bringing a substantive motion. So you cannot discuss the conduct of the president. And by the way, I want to correct you. You might...
Point is out of order.
Your point of saying that governments eat their...
Take your seat is out of order. Kahangara. Yes, yes.
Honorable Kahangara.
Kahangara.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Hold on a second, they're going to put for you the mic. Clerk, just say... Yes, I can see the mic. Take the one next to Mheshimiwa Fulamu. Take that one, yes. He's gone to the one you had given him.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this motion. And I want to say that from the onset, I am in support of the motion, the special motion for the impeachment of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Madam Speaker, let me say that this country, Kenya, is a country that is is led by a constitution, by laws, and a country that is led by of democracy. In this country, Mr. Speaker, every 5 years, Kenyans go to elections to elect their leaders, and after elections, for people to assume office, they take an oath of office where they say that they are going to respect the Constitution, they are going to protect the Constitution of this country. Mr. Speaker, when the Deputy President took oath of office, he promised that he was going to respect the Constitution of Kenya. In his responsibilities, we are told that the President is a symbol of national unity. He's the one who is supposed to be uniting this country and also to respect the diversity of the various communities and tribes in this country. In the same Constitution, it says that the Deputy President is the principal assistant to the President. So if he is the principal assistant to the President, meaning that he performs the duties that are performed by the President. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that the Deputy President has gone around this country talking about shares, meaning that he has put all the tribes of this country into coalition. And I want to thank the member who brought this particular motion, because we are saving this country from somebody who is, I would call, to die. Somebody that this
Give Honorable Jerry the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to vehemently oppose this motion on behalf of the great people of Kirinyaga. Honorable Speaker, it begs the question, does it not prick our conscience as a House that barely 4 months after passing the grossly unpopular finance bill, which the President himself refused and declined to assent to, that we're here discussing an impeachment motion of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya? Honorable Speaker, the young people of this nation unequivocally told us to fix high unemployment levels among the young people, gross corruption at all levels of government, gross corruption at all levels of government, accountability issues in regard to leadership, our ailing healthcare sector, among other things. Honorable Speaker, many young people died on that day, Honorable Speaker. Several others to date are still missing, Honorable Speaker. It begs the question, the priorities we have as a 13th Parliament. Honorable Speaker, the motion before us is frivolous, it is baseless, it is lacking in substance. It is nothing but a shambolic political scheme to hang the truthful man for merely being truthful. Honorable Speaker, we must redeem the 13th Parliament, Honorable Speaker. We must ensure that we give...
Kasheri, take your seat. Yes, Donya. Give Donya the mic. Hold, Jerry, you have about...
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is Honorable Gachagua in order to bring things which have passed, like the finance bill, when we are discussing about the impeachment motion? Those... And Gachagua is my friend, but this one you are wrong, my dear. We are discussing about the impeachment of Gachagua, not finance bill. Let the foregone be the foregone.
Honorable Speaker, I would want the honorable member, who is my very good friend, to point what standing order she rose on and what standing order can ensure that I do not speak on matters that have been controverted and that are public information, Honorable Speaker. We passed the finance bill, Honorable Speaker. It is a matter of fact. Even if you boo me, I will speak. The young people of this nation deserve more. They want jobs. They want healthcare sorted. The impeachment of the Deputy President is a sham political process.
Kasheri, order. Jerry shall be heard in silence and dignity. But Jerry, your time is up. Women Rep of Migori. Yes, Wanjala. What is out of order? Give Wanjala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the person who is accused, whom we are debating, was supposed to be here by 5. It is 7 minutes past 5.
He actually is.
Mr. Speaker, can we bar him from coming because he's late?
Wanjala, he's already here. Yes. Migori Women Rep. Give to Fatuma. I looked for you to speak. You had gone out.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Kindly protect me, Mr. Speaker. I can't be heard, Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Order.
Excuse me, Honorable Member. Please give me time to speak.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity you have given me. And as I stand here as a Muslim, I don't know when I'll die. In case I die before the impeachment time, I vote yes, Gachagua must go. Mr. Speaker, I will take you to the Bible, Proverbs 23:10, verse 11. And it says, please keep quiet. And it says, don't move an old stone that marks a border, and don't take fields that belong to the orphans. God, their defender, is strong. He will take their side against you. I want Gachagua to know, the former deputy president of Kenya should know that when you touch anything of the orphans, it is not Kenya Kwanza, it is not Azimio, but it is God Almighty that will put the fire on you. I will return to the Quran. The Holy Quran in Surah An-Nisa said, surely those who eat up property of the orphans unjustly, they only eat fire into their bellies, and soon they will enter a blazing fire. I am telling the former deputy president of Kenya that you have eaten fire into your belly, and the fire will surely burn you. Mr. Speaker, as I finish, Mr. Speaker, I have heard that the deputy president has 21 lawyers. How much does the deputy president earn to have 21 lawyers? And I understand each lawyer is paid 10 million. And I'm telling Kenyans, it is your taxpayers' money.
Your time is up. Rueda. Honorable members, we are coming to an end. Order, honorable members. I've given the floor to member for Lamu East.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, umoja wa taifa ni muhimu sana, na vile ilivyofanyika na naibu wa rais ilionekana kwamba hakuna umoja. Nataka ieleweke kwamba watu wa mlima wanaishi sehemu zingine. Kule kwangu Kiunga niko na watu wa mlima, na kile wanachoona zaidi ni sand dunes. Hawaoni mlima, wanaona bahari. Nataka niseme ile kuzungumzia kuhusu NIS ilikuwa ni grave mistake. Wamekosea sana. Afadhali angetaja Nurdin kama akona shida naye kuliko institution ya NIS. Ni kutufanya sisi tukae dhaifu katika maadui zetu. Kwa mfano Al-Shabaab wataona vipi sisi kama tuko weak. Ingine nasema, ukiwa unatukana mwanamke, na tena hii ikuwe kwa mtu yoyote, yule anatukana mwanamke ajue mwanamume yote anatukana mwanamke, mashimo yako 7 kwa kila mtu alioumbwa. Wanaume wanayo, wanawake wanayo. Kama ni malaya basi ni wote wanaweza kutumia kwa malaya. Hii jina ya malaya nimechoka kusikia. Ingine naulizwa mashimo ni haya mawili ya pua, ya masikio, ya mdomo na yale mengine mawili. Kila mtu ako nayo. Ingine nataka niseme, sisi tunafundishwa Kiislamu kuheshimu wajane na mayatima. Ikiwa kuna mtu haiheshimu majane na mayatima, basi hairuhusiwi kidini yetu. Asante Bwana Spika.
Order. Member for Kipipiri, take your seat. Yes, Milemba.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this. The mood in the House is such that it's already 5. And Honorable Speaker, it's my plea to you that the country is waiting. We move to the next stage so that we may hear the Deputy President speak. Remember, these are motions which has timelines. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, members. If you listen to the Speaker, when I called out member for Lamu East, I said she was going to be the last one on this. So she is indeed the last one on this. The interaction on the motion. Order. Order, members. The interaction of members on the motion has been very, very intense. Order, honorable members. Member for Machakos, keep your cool, Mami. Keep your cool. Yes, keep your cool. The members who have spoken are many. It is not possible for each and every one of us to speak on the same motion. For those who have spoken, I appreciate you for your tremendous industry for and against the motion. Now, His Excellency, the Deputy President, is in the chamber, and he is accompanied, I believe, by his legal team or assistants. We will now move to the next stage. You remember I had advised the House, Order Joyce Kamene. This is not a moment where the Speaker can exercise the option to exclude you from proceedings, but I know you differently. You are normally a very dignified person. I don't know what is the problem today. I want to urge the House that as we move to this stage, you remember we said at 5, the Deputy President had been assigned 2 hours in accordance with the standing orders. The standing orders say not more than 2 hours. So he may exercise to spend the 2 hours or less as he wishes. Secondly, once he finishes, then the minority leader, majority leader will take the floor as we had agreed. After that, then the mover will be invited to reply. And after that, you will go into a voting session. Your Excellency, once you finish, you have the option to remain in the House or to leave because you'll have spent your time as allocated by the House. I want to encourage you members to maintain your silence, to maintain your decorum, and to maintain the dignity of both the House and yourselves in listening to the subject to this motion, who is the Deputy President of the country. And I invite you, Your Excellency, you have a choice. You have a choice between speaking yourself or speaking through your legal counsel. Yes, Kamket, what is out of order? Your Excellency, you may take your seat. Let us hear him.
Mr. Speaker, while I did not want to interrupt His Excellency the Deputy President, who is my brother-in-law, Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Deputy President on national television referred to this House in unpalatable terms. And Mr. Speaker, while it is his right to say whatever he wants to say, as a former member himself, Mr. Speaker, would I be in order, Mr. Speaker, that the Deputy President, as a precursor to his speech, apologizes to this House? Mr. Speaker, this House, Mr. Speaker, he used the words, he referred to this House as a theater of the absurd. Mr. Speaker, this House is an honorable House of the people of Kenya. These are elected members of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. This House is neither a theater, neither is there absurdity in this House, Mr. Speaker. So I would request, Mr. Speaker, that the Honorable Deputy President exercises, dignifies this House by offering an apology. I know he has very little support in this House now.
You've made your point.
But he may get a little support even just from that apology. He has to apologize to this House, Mr. Speaker, before he proceeds with his speech, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Order. No more points of order. Your Excellency, Deputy President, as you take the floor, this morning, the Speaker made a communication and indicated that we found it abhorrent, some of the contents of your interview your speech rather, your statement last evening, in which you described this House in not very good terms. We also indicated that the rules of this House preclude matters pending before the House from being canvassed in other fora, particularly by members of the House, and to an extent of broad interpretation of the standing orders, a person who is subject to the motion going on in the House. It is spilled milk, it's water under the bridge. You said what you said, but it is only fair that being an immediate former member of this House, that you exercise your conscience to hold as to whether this is a theater of the absurd or is an honorable National Assembly of the Republic of Kenya. You may start by addressing that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And thank you, the honorable members present, for according me this opportunity to prosecute the matter before us. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have tremendous respect for this great institution, having served here for 5 years between 2017 and 2022, and I appear here in a very nostalgic moment that I'm back in the House where I stayed for 5 years, despite the fact that I've come under difficult circumstances. Mr. Speaker, maybe the sound people, is that okay now? Mr. Speaker, sir, and the honorable members, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity.
I hope, Your Excellency, you have been advised by your lawyers that you are here to respond to specific issues in the motion.
I have my advice.
And not to talk generally.
I know.
Yeah, so rules of relevance will still apply to you as they apply to all members.
Mr. Speaker, the motion before this great House alleges that 2 years ago, since assuming office, I have acquired property and wealth whose estimated value of 5.2 billion shillings. A significant number of properties to which this sum of 5.2 billion is erroneously and maliciously attached belonged to my late brother, the Right Honorable James Gachagua, and as demonstrated by his will, a copy of which is attached. The fact as follows. Olive Garden, my response. The allegations that I own the Olive Garden Hotel is false.
The
truth is that Olive Garden Hotel used to belong to my deceased brother, the late Honorable James Derito Gachagua, and therefore has never been my property. This is information that most of you may be aware, as it is in public domain. Upon his demise, my late brother left a will in which, in his recognition that I can take care of his family, he appointed me as one of the executors of his estate. In the said will, my late brother directed that the hotel should be sold, among other properties, and proceeds distributed as per the will. I'm also listed as a beneficiary together with other persons named therein. In accordance with these instructions, the hotel was sold by the executors to a third party. Owing to the above, I do not own the hotel and have never owned it, contrary to accusation in the motion. For the benefit of this august House and the general public, I have annexed to this response copies of the following supporting documents: my late brother's will, sale agreement dated 17th May 2023, an official search for Olive Garden Hotel Limited. Mr. Speaker, Vipingo Beach Resort, just as in Olive Garden, above this allegation is also false. Vipingo Beach Resort belongs to the estate of the late James Derito Gachagua. For the benefit of this House and the general public, I have attached annexed to this response copy of the official search for Vipingo Beach Resort Limited, confirming that the hotel is still in the name of my little brother's estate. Queen's Gate Service Apartments. The allegation is also false, as the property belonged to my late brother. Queen's Gate Service Apartments, registered in the name of Vipingo Beach Resort Limited, was sold to Cooperative Bank of Kenya Limited, Staff Retirement Benefits Scheme, as evidenced by the agreement for this dated 4th May 2022, and a transfer dated 5th October 2022, marked Annex RG6. Land Parcel Ruguru Kiamariga 2023 in Madeira East constituency, which have originally constructed a helicopter landing facility. My response is, I do confirm that I own the above reference property, which is approximately 2.5 acres in size, and which I have planted napier grass for my dairy cows. I purchased the land in the year 2023 for 3.5 million from farm proceeds coming from my dairy farm. I have read through the motion, and there is no iota of evidence adduced of the impropriety in the way I acquired this small property. Finally, on this matter, I wish to confirm that there is no helicopter landing facility for this particular parcel on the motion. This part is also false. I attach a copy of the agreement for purchase of this property marked Annexure RG7. 40 acres of land purchased in Kakuret within Kabraine in Nyeri County. My response: I confirm that I own a property, having bought it in 2015, a time when I was not a state officer. I had not even been elected as Member of Parliament from the Honorable Joroge Wainaina, Member of Parliament for Kenny, who is present in his house. Or I'm not sure whether he's present. Therefore, this property I purchased 10 years ago, and not 2 years ago, during my tenure as Deputy President, and as indicated in the motion, the allegation is false. I have read through the motion, and there is no iota of evidence adduced of any impropriety in the way I acquired this property. For the benefit of this august House and the general public, I have annexed to this response copy of the agreement for sale and purchase of this property, marked as Annexure RG8. 80 acres of land in Meru County. For the record, I wish to confirm that I do not own 80 acres of land in Meru. This allegation is false. However, in the spirit of full disclosure, I would like to confirm that I have purchased 29 acres of land in Meru, the land of my mother, which I bought on around 9 February 2024 through a loan granted to me by Solution Circle Limited, which I am a member. This said circle has a charge registered against the title, which it continues to hold as security until I fully repay the loan. For the benefit of the August House and the general public, I have annexed to this response copies of the agreement of sale marked RG9 and a letter dated 15 July 2024 from Solution Circle Limited confirming that they financed the purchase of the property marked Annexure RG10. Dairy farm in Nyandarua County. My response is I do not have a dairy farm in Nyandarua County, therefore this allegation is false. The land in Nyandarua has no single animal. Companies. The motion alleges there are 22 companies owned by my family members and which have been used to massively launder money and conceal proceeds of crime, corruption, and benefit from influence peddling. My response is the mover of the motion has listed the 22 companies associated with me and has alleged that they have been used to massively launder money and conceal proceeds of crime, corruption, and benefit from influence peddling. I've carefully gone through the motion and I have not seen any evidence to support or prove the allegations therein. It is not clear to me how to respond without having seen any evidence incriminating the companies. I would like to be clear that these companies have not been involved in any illegal activities, and I believe that is why the mover of the motion has not tabled any evidence of impropriety with respect to the companies. It does appear to me that the mover of the motion was so meticulous to get all the companies associated with me and my family. And I believe that he also had evidence of illegalities committed by the companies. He would have shared or tabled that for the record. However, it is not possible to get evidence of illegality where there is none. Having said the above, allow me just to mention a few companies because there are many. Regarding Gachagua Foundation, this is a foundation I incorporated in 2022, and I clarify that the foundation is a non-profit making entity with the sole objective of uplifting the lives of less privileged in society. This foundation therefore does not trade, and honorable members, you are aware that by law, a foundation cannot be used to trade. Since incorporation, the foundation has received a total of 12 million shillings, which has been utilized as per the schedule marked Annexure RG11, which is paying school fees for children in Pwani University and other universities across the country. Dorcas Regarding Foundation, because she is not here to defend herself, this is a foundation founded by my wife, Pastor Dorcas, incorporated immediately we came into office as a non-profit making entity for the sole purpose of rehabilitation of drug addicts, widows, single mothers, and orphans. A brief write-up of this foundation, together with its achievements, is annexed herewith as Annexure RG12. It is in public domain that Pastor Dorcas have been around the country doing work of rehabilitating drug addicts and helping others who have challenges. There are many other companies that are here that I don't, because this is a house of record, I don't want to bother the members of parliament of going through all of them. I want to probably only talk about Wamunyoro Investments Limited, named after my village in Wamunyoro. This company was incorporated 21 years ago before I became deputy president, and it's a company that holds family property. Mr. Speaker, sir, I've been accused of exerting influence on officials in the Ministry of Lands to issue an allotment letter to Wamunyoro Investments Limited and using the fraudulently acquired documents in support of a court case. My response, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable members, I wish to confirm that Wamunyoro Investments Limited has never been issued with any letter of allotment for land in Embakasi. In the year 2012, the company's ownership of this property has been confirmed through two legal processes. One, a case was filed before the National Land Commission in the year 2016, adjudicated, and a determination was made that this property belongs to Wamunyoro Investments Limited. That was long before I became the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Again, a matter was filed in High Court case ELC case number E242 of 2022, which was filed before I became Deputy President. All the documents filed in support of this case were filed in court before I became Deputy President, and no documents have been filed by myself in court upon becoming Deputy President. This being the case, it is not true that I have used my office as Deputy President to manufacture documents filed in this matter. The High Court found that this land legally belongs to Amonyoro Investment Limited and issued the appropriate direction. This matter has since been challenged in the Court of Appeal. I invite any honorable member who may want to be enjoined in this case to have the liberty to do so. Mr. Speaker, sir, I've been accused in the irregular procurement of mosquito nets at a cost of 3.7 billion. In response to paragraph 45 of ground 7 at page 23 and 42, paragraph 78 and ground 11 and page 36, 37 or 42 of the impeachment motion, I wish to respond as follows. It is not true, as claimed in paragraph 3 of the witness affidavit of Andrew Molwa, that I was involved in the KEMSA 3.7 billion irregular procurement of malaria nets, either directly or through proxy. Further, Shobika Impex Limited was not awarded the subject tender as the acting director of procurement, Dr. Justice Kinoti, by letter 5th May 2023, formally notified Shobika Impex Limited that its bid was unsuccessful because its tender security was not paginated and the tender was hence non-responsive. That is clear at paragraph 4 of the witness affidavit of Andrew Morwa. He contradicts himself by claiming that on 11 July 2023, I pressured him to surrender the original bid board, yet by the letter dated 5th May 2023, KEMSA had requested for collection of the original bid. Thus, there was no cause to pressure to be exerted on Mr. Mulwa for any other purpose. I am aware of a foreign company known as Shobika Impex Private Limited, domiciled in India, and which appointed Crystal Kenya Limited as its local agent in the year 2014, that is 8 years before Gachagua became the Deputy President. To date, Crystal Kenya Limited has complied with the agency terms between itself and Shobika Impex Private Limited, annexed hereto and marked as Annex RG 18 in an appointment agency letter by Shobika Impex Limited in the year 2014. Sometime in 2023, Kenya Medical Supplies Authority advertised tender number GF-ATM MOL NFM 2022-2023 for supply of long-lasting insecticidal nets using the international open tendering method of procurement on behalf of the Global Fund. The monies for supply of the nets, as per my understanding, was a pure grant from the Global Fund. I am aware that Shobika Impex Limited still participates in doing business with and has not been debarred by the Global Fund to date. I believe being technically qualified to provide and deliver the goods subject of the tender document, having the financial ability to do so, and without their participation or assistance from Crystal Kenya Limited, Shobika Impex Private Limited independently participated and submitted in its bid in response to the subject tender pursuant to an invitation by KEMSA. Having not participated in the subject tender, Crystal Kenya Limited did not submit any of the documents in response to the subject tender. Specifically, Crystal Kenya Limited did not submit a bid board or tender security in its name in response to the subject tender. It is therefore not true that Crystal Kenya submitted a fake bid board with an intention to fraudulently acquire public property. It is also not true that with my sons, I used Crystal Kenya to massively launder money, conceal proceeds of crime, engage in corruption, and benefit from influence peddling. Subsequently, by the letter 5th May 2023, KEMSA notified Shobika Impex Limited that it was not successful because the tender security was not paginated and requested Shobika Impex Private Limited to collect its bid security from the procurement office immediately. Annexed here to and marked Annexure RG19 is a said letter by KEMSA dated 5th May 2023. However, EACC commenced investigations of the subject tender, and on conclusion of the investigation by EACC and the Senate on the subject tender, KEMSA CEO Terry Ramadhani, who had been suspended on this issue, was appointed Kenya's Deputy High Commissioner in New Delhi, India by President William Ruto. Thereafter, Crystal Kenya Limited, a Shobika Impex Limited agent in Kenya, followed up in the release of Shobika Impex Private Limited's bid board tender security on behalf of Shobika. Annexed here to and marked Annexure RG20 is an email from Shobika Impex Private Limited email addressed to Crystal Kenya Limited, together with a letter of even date confirming that Crystal Kenya Limited had authority to collect their bid board. KEMSA was mandated to immediately release the bid board tender security upon determining that Shobika Impex Private Limited was unsuccessful in the subject tender, and that is why they requested that the same be collected from its procurement office. KEMSA did so, as can be seen in its letter dated 11th July 2023, annexed here to and marked Annexure RG21 in the said letter by KEMSA dated 11th July 2023. Mr. Speaker, noting that Shobika Impex Private Limited was not successful, it did not supply any goods, and it did not receive any public funds in payment thereof with respect to the subject tender. Accordingly, I have not committed any crime under Section 45(1), 46, 47(a)(3), and 48(1) of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, and Section 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the Proceeds of Crime and Money Laundering Act. Further, I have not breached Section 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, for I did not bully any state or public officer with respect to the subject tender, and specifically, no evidence has been tendered to support the allegation at paragraph 78C of ground 11 at page 37 of 42 of the motion, which alleges that I summoned procurement officers in ministries and institutions, instructing them to direct procurement of goods and services in a specific manner. I have been accused of unnecessary and expensive renovation of the official. I would like to state that funds for the renovation of the official residence were approved and allocated by this President. It cannot be fair that this House would proceed to impeach me because of an action that these honorable members have approved by way of appropriating monies for the renovations. Mr. Speaker, the contract for the refurbishment of the official residence of the Deputy President, dated 22nd December 2022, was signed by Honorable Katole Metito, the Controller of State House, Office of the President, and Agrobic Investment Limited that was awarded the tender, because the Controller of State House at that time was the accounting officer in charge of the Office of the Deputy President. The report of the Auditor General, Mrs. Nancy Gadongo, dated 24th January 2024, on the Executive Office of the President for the year ended 30th June 2023, gave the opinion confirming that due compliance with the Public Finance Management Act 2012, the report is annexed herewith and marks as Annex RG 23. I would also like to add that the Deputy President, as Deputy President, I'm not involved in procurement processes of my office, whether directly or indirectly. I would also like to state that I do not know the company, Agropric Investments Limited, which undertook the renovations. I do not know the directors and the company. I did not participate in the tendering or supervising of the same. The motion dated 26 September 2024 alleges that on 29 January 2023, 45 million Kenya shillings was transferred to Bayani Enterprises Limited, which is alleged to be a special purpose vehicle used by me to siphon public funds. No evidence whatsoever is contained in the motion showing that the said company is in any way connected to me or that I have any beneficial interest in the said company, which I am neither a director or a shareholder. I categorically categorically refute the allegation which is false and unfounded. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to confirm that I'm not a director or a shareholder, directly or indirectly, of the company called Agro-Brick Investments Limited, and I do not know its shareholders or its directors. Mr. Speaker, there is an allegation of dubiously acquiring substantial portion of the sum of 100 million paid to Lusona Events Limited. My response, Mr. Speaker, is just like in the above other matter. I have read the motion, and I would like to state that there is no evidence that this company is linked to me. I wish to categorically state that I have no beneficial interest in the said company, and neither am I affiliated in any way to the directors and shareholders of the said company. I would also like to state that I'm not a director or a shareholder of the company and do not know its shareholders or its directors. I do not sit in a tendering committee. I am not the accounting officer of the Office of the Deputy President. I have also not had any complaints against the manner in which the company undertook the work. I am unable to confirm the allegations on funds withdrawn from the account of the company, since I am not a signatory to his account. I am not associated with the company in any way whatsoever. Mr. Speaker, the motion dated 26 September 2024 claims that I am reasonably suspected to be the principal beneficiary of the dubious transactions. However, Mr. Speaker, no evidence has been adduced or annexed to the motion to give credit to the allegations or suspicion. I categorically refute acquiring or benefiting from any funds paid to Lusona Events Limited, and therefore the allegation is false and unfounded. Mr. Speaker, I have been accused of siphoning money through St. Nicholas Rehabilitation and Industrial Training Institute Limited. My response, Mr. Speaker, is that the motion dated 26 September 2024 makes the claim that a payment of 21 million was made to a company called St. Nicholas Rehabilitation Center and Psychiatric Hospital. Then subsequently payment was made to Umalari Motors Limited. The motion claims that it is suspected that the entire transaction was used by me to siphon public funds, and the payments typify money laundering transaction. I am not a director or a shareholder of this company, and I've never received any payments from this company. Similarly, I'm not affiliated or related to the shareholders and directors of the two companies. No evidence has been annexed to the motion showing that I was a beneficiary of the funds paid as alleged. I wish to point out that I'm not the accounting officer in the Office of the Deputy President, and I'm not aware that the payments made to this company by the office. The allegation is therefore false and unfounded. Mr. Speaker, there is an accusation of alleged sensational but false accusations against the Honorable Lady Justice Esther Minor. My response, Mr. Speaker, it is alleged in the special notice motion of on ground 4 on page 14, at a gross violation of the Constitution, that I publicly attacked the Honorable Lady Justice Esther Minor and forcefully threatened to bring action against her. First, Article 160, Sub-Article 5 of the Constitution provides that the judge cannot be found liable in a court of law for actions taken in good faith in lawful performance of their work. This provision is not a bar on freedom of expression guaranteed at Article 33 of the Constitution, nor a bar of the right to seek redress for legal wrongs simply because. Mr. Speaker, I have been accused meant for construction of Kilifi Malindi Highway to tarmac a private road to Vipingo Beach Resort. My response, Mr. Speaker, I reiterate that Vipingo Beach Resort is registered in the name of the estate of my late brother, Honorable James Gachagua. Number two, the facts are as follows. King Charles III visited Kenya between 30th October 2023 and 30th November 2024. During his state visit, one of the designated places where King Charles III was to visit was Kuruitu Marine Conservancy, which shares a road with Vipingo Beach Resort. I have annexed a copy of the program for the state visit to Kenya by King Charles III, marked Kuruitu Marine Conservancy. There are several media reports confirming the visit by King Charles III to Kuruitu Marine Conservancy. I have annexed extracts of the media reports by the Star newspaper dated 7 November and by African News marked as Annexure RG26. My understanding is that the road to Kuritu Marine Conservancy was upgraded in respect of this visit, which also to benefit the local community, including amenities like Cheriani Secondary School, Cheriani Primary School, a mosque and a public market as part of the corporate social responsibility. I wish to point out that the alleged road, that is Takaungu Shariani Vipingo, is a public road and not a private road leading to any property associated with the Deputy President, but a public road. Mr. Speaker, I have been accused of undermining the President and the Cabinet by allegedly making contradictory public statements from the position taken by Cabinet regarding the evacuation of the people residing along the Nairobi River. My response, Mr. Speaker, is that Article 147 of the Constitution provides that the Deputy President shall be the principal assistant of the President and shall deputize the President in execution of the President's functions. Article 28, which states that every person has inherent dignity and the right to have the dignity respected and protected. Article 29C, Mr. Speaker, states that every person has the right to freedom and security of the person, which includes the right not to be subjected to any form of violence from either public or private sources. Section 15G1 of the Land Act states that notwithstanding any provisions to the contrary in this act or in any other written law, all eviction shall be carried out in a strict accordance with the following procedures. Be preceded by proper identification of this taking part in the eviction or demolitions. Be preceded by the presentation of formal authorizations for action. C, where groups of people are involved, government officials or their representatives be present during an eviction. D, be carried out in a manner that respects the dignity, right to life and security of those affected. E, include special measures to ensure effective protection to groups of people who are vulnerable, such as women, children, the elderly, and persons with disabilities, including special measures to ensure that there is no arbitrary deprivation of property or possessions as a result of the eviction. This includes mechanisms to protect property and possessions left behind involuntarily from destruction, to respect the principles of necessity and proportionality during the use of force, and give the affected persons the first priority to demolish and salvage their property. Critically, our Constitution provides at 147(2) that first the Deputy President shall perform the functions conferred by this Constitution and any other functions assigned by the President. Pursuant to Article 3 of the Constitution, I, as well as every other citizen of Kenya, and state or public officers have an obligation to respect, uphold, and defend this Constitution in performing any of my functions. This, the national values and principles of governance contained in Article 10 of the Constitution, by those state organs, public officers, and all persons, including myself as Deputy President, wherever we make or implement public policy decisions. In addition to this matter, Mr. Speaker, these national values and procedures include the rule of law, democracy and participation of the people, human dignity, equity, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, non-discrimination, and protection of the marginalized. Adherence to these principles become extremely important when we as state officers are contemplating legal evacuation of citizens with a duty to avoid inhuman forced eviction that will be contrary to our Constitution and international law. While campaigning with President William Ruto, and subsequently when I was sworn in as Deputy President, the President and I promised as a key pillar of the Kenya Kwanza government that there will be no forced or unlawful evictions and that all evictions will be human and entail legal compensation. Mr. Speaker, the Office of the Deputy President has undertaken extensive engagement with all parties in regard to cabinet decisions on eviction, which I fully support, including the Nairobi River, which is an entity under the Office of the Deputy President and the County Government of Nairobi. Adherence to these principles become extremely important when we, as state officers, are contemplating legal evacuation of citizens with a duty to avoid inhuman forced evictions that will be contrary to our Constitution and international law. Guideline number 6 of the United Nations General Assembly Guidelines for the implementation of the rights to adequate housing prohibits forced evictions, and that the state should ensure that any eviction under domestic law are fully compliant with international law. The guidelines further require meaningful engagement with communities to ensure that the rights of residents are implemented cooperatively without the need for eviction procedures or police enforcement. Of government directives on the eviction, save for the fact that on being informed that the persons residing along Nairobi River would be evicted and paid 10,000 shillings only, which I and many other Kenyans felt was inadequate compensation for eviction. I insisted that the government should abide by the constitutional dictates and international norms while implementing any cabinet decisions, including eviction, and maintain the dignity of the citizens of Kenyans facing eviction. My statements did not and cannot be construed to undermine the president by insisting that people should not be evicted inhumanly and without adequate compensation. Mr. Speaker, I've been accused of undermining devolution by allegedly holding a meeting in Nairobi Wakulima Market. The motion alleges that on 28 September 2024, I unlawfully interfered with the running of the Nairobi City County government by holding a public rally where I allegedly incited citizens against lawful directives of the county government on planning and allocation of markets. My response, Mr. Speaker, is that the motion alleges that on 20 September 2024, I unlawfully interfered with the running of the Nairobi City County government by allegedly inciting citizens against lawful directives. Article 6(2) of the Constitution provides that the government at national and county levels are distinct and interdependent and shall conduct their mutual relations on the basis of consultation and cooperation. This being the case, it cannot be said that there is a violation of the Constitution when someone from the national government makes a comment on matters relating to county government. The traders had sought me out to intervene and request the governor on their behalf to dialogue with them and seek a solution to the grievances with regard to the relocation of markets. I request that a video annexed RG Video 3 be played for the benefit of members to say what I said. Please play the video for us.
Tukakubaliana ya kwamba akiwa gavana wa Nairobi, Rais William Ruto akiweko, mdogo wake, wafanyabiashara wetu watapata nafasi ya kufanya kazi yao. Na mimi nataka kuomba kwa heshima, wale wote ambao tumepatiwa nafasi ya uongozi na Wakenya, tukumbuke ya kwamba tulipata nafasi ya kuongoza kupitia kwa kura ya wananchi. Siku tutaweza geuka wa Kenya. Ndio walitupatia nafasi ya uongozi. Si nyinyi mlituandika kazi. Kwa hivyo mimi niseme ya kwamba niliuliza gavana mketi chini. Kuwe na mazungumzo, kuwe na maelewano. Watu ni wananchi na wananchi ni watu ya kusikizwa. Mimi niko hapa kumhakikishia ya kwamba nimemuuliza gavana kwa heshima, na mimi sina kiburi. Mimi namuomba akiwa kiongozi wetu hapa Nairobi, asikuwe mtu ya kugeuka watu walimchagua. Mimi nimeomba na nimemwambia yeye akubali aketi chini na kamati. Hii soko ime...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My counsel has just drawn my attention that in my earlier explanation on Nairobi River, I have a video 1 and 2 that I would like you to play so that I buttress my point on what I meant. Please, video 1 and 2.
People of Kenya to work hard. We don't have a choice. Once we try to fix this economy and create a good working environment where we don't criminalize enterprise, where ordinary Kenyans are allowed to work, where businessmen are not harassed by KRA, where goods belonging to the people of Kenya will never again be touched by overzealous public servants. Where again poor people will never again be evicted in brutal evictions by state agencies. And I say, freedom is here.
Now, the number of fatalities from the ongoing forcible eviction by the government has risen to 3, with another tragic loss in Mathare on Monday. An 18-year-old boy died as a bulldozer brought down a church in the area just moments after President William Ruto left. The young man who was assisting in salvaging the church's belongings became a casualty of the demolition. Earlier on Saturday, 2 individuals lost their lives in Mukuru kwa Ruben during a similar eviction exercise. Ben Kirui reports.
Monday evening, the ongoing forcible evictions in flood-prone areas tragically ended yet another life. The 18-year-old Ian Otieno lost his life in Mathare moments after President William Ruto left the area where he had been assessing the effects of floods. Bulldozers descended on homes near riverbanks, flattening structures marked for demolition. Winnie Makinda, Ian's mother, struggled to comprehend the loss of her son, a candidate in this year's KCSE.
Wakaambia mtu atingatinga usiangushe hiyo kuta. Kuna hapo ndani kuna watoto wa watu. Wacha kuangusha hapo ndani kuna watoto wa watu. Akaambia wamama waache kumpigia kelele.
Reports indicate that Ian Otieno was trying to salvage church properties when the bulldozer brought down the wall, leading to his sudden demise.
Driver wa tingatinga vile tu alianza kubomoa hata mara ya kwanza huko mbele, alikuwa tu anakani kama hata watu wakimwambia ngojea watu watoe vitu hataki kusikia.
Nilichimba hivi, mtoto wangu alikuwa anataka kutoroka, sawa. Unasikia alishika mtoto wangu na hiyo kitu hapa. Mtoto wangu akienda hivi. Mtoto wangu ana hivi.
His death led to demonstrations by residents, prompting police intervention. The law enforcers lobbed tear gas canisters to disperse rioting residents.
Watu wakachukua mwili, twende tuonyeshe askari, yenyewe wametulia mtoto. Maskari kutuona kwa gate, wakaanza kutoa gun, wakaanza kulipua shoot.
Residents insist they will comply with government orders to vacate houses along riparian lands only if provided with alternative housing solutions. Saturday's demolitions in Mukuru kwa Ruben claimed 2 lives and injured 3 others, sparking outrage among residents who blamed the government for forcible evictions despite many not yet being relocated. Last week, the government mandated the evacuation of all residents from risky areas within 48 hours, including those near dams, those in areas prone to mudslides, and Kenyans residing on riparian lands. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
hakuna tena mambo ya evictions katika Nairobi. Kama kutakuwa na maneno, ni maneno ya relocation ambayo itakuwa ni kwa utaratibu, bila ya mwananchi kuvunjiwa nyumba. Huwezi kutoka nyumbani alafu unarudi jioni unakuta masufuria barabarani na blanketi sijui imekaa wapi. That one will not happen again. We want to make sure that we are an orderly, humane society that respects the right of everybody, irrespective of who they are or irrespective of their financial status. We are all equal before the Constitution. Tumekubaliana watu wa Nairobi? Vijana tumekubaliana?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That was President William Ruto talking the same language as his deputy, that brutal and forceful evictions have no place under this administration. We have seen a video of brutal eviction. We have seen young children crying in tears. The deputy president is being accused of undermining his boss by just doing what his boss said, that we should never forcibly, brutally evict the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, the leadership of Nairobi business traders approached me sometime in March 2024 at the official residence to discuss multiple issues affecting business and requested engagement in the solution and intervention on these issues. Consequent to this meeting, I directed that short, medium, and long-term strategies be undertaken, coordinated by the Office of the Deputy President, to address the issues raised that cut across various agencies, including KRA, Kenya Post Authority, Anti-Counterfeit Authority, Kenya Bureau of Standards, the National Police Service, and the Kenya Copyright Board. On 11th April 2024, the Small Traders and Government Agencies Technical Committee, coordinated by my office, held a meeting to discuss issues raised by the small traders, including Muthurwa Market, attended by the Office of the Deputy President staff, in a supportive role in keeping with the draft framework of cooperation and engagement between the government, the Nairobi City County Government, and Nairobi business traders. Subsequent this, Mr. Speaker, is clear that my office have been having meetings with the governor of Nairobi on various matters affecting the people of Nairobi, and hence the Deputy President cannot be accused of undermining devolution. Mr. Speaker, I've been accused of undermining devolution by allegedly holding meetings to fight alcohol. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, if the House took it that I said the House is a theater of the absurd. I was talking about this specific charge of undermining devolution by holding meetings to fight alcohol to be discussed in this House. That, to me, is what I thought that moment. If it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that would be the theater of the absurd. I did not attribute in any way by trying to demean this House that I sat for 5 years, by calling it the theater of the absurd. But this particular charge, Mr. Speaker, drug and alcohol problem in Kenya has been on the increase, and many of our youth have become addicted to alcohol and their lives destroyed because it causes them to drop out of school and start engaging in petty crime to look for money to buy alcohol. I'm a strong advocate for youth rehabilitation from alcohol and substance abuse, which I continue to encourage and support in order to save our future. With regard to alcohol control and regulation, meeting with governors in Meru, I've been working with governors and county assemblies who have been developing legislation on the control of licensing of alcoholic drinks. If there is one program that has had the best working relationship between county governments and the national government, it is this particular program. I'm a bit emotive about illicit alcohol because I lost my brothers. One who was a medical doctor to alcohol, another who was a farmer to alcohol. I take it passionately. I don't know who complained about this particular charge. I have not seen any evidence of any complaint, and I have not heard any person in Kenya complaining that the deputy president is undermining with the devolution by leading the war on illicit bruise and drug abuse. Whatever this house decides tonight and the other subsequent house, whatever happens to Rigathi Gachagua, whether he's in or out of office, this war must continue and must be won for the sake of our children. I want us to watch video number 4, RG4.
Leaders, those of us who have been elected, Madam Waiguru, Governor Kahiga, Badirisha, Kangata, Wamatangi, what shall we tell our people? Where are we? What shall we tell the people who elected us? When we meet them, what shall we tell them? When our children got wiped out by alcohol and drugs, where are we? We'll have nothing to say. Dede Nyoro, Kimani Ichung'wa, Madenge, mutaambia watu nini? Mukami, mutaambia watu nini? So please, this forum here today, let us be open and candid. Speak from your heart. Let us know what ails us. What is it must we do? We have the support of the president and he is waiting. He has told me by 7 p.m. today, he wants a report. He cannot accept the situation. He cannot. Neither can I. And none of you should accept this situation. It is not right. It is not fair. It is not acceptable. We must deal with it as leaders. And we are here, we are all leaders. As an OCS, you are a leader. That's why you have been given that responsibility. As an ACC, you are a leader. County Commissioner, wewe ni kiongozi. DCIO, wewe ni kiongozi. Sisi ni viongozi. Na juu ya hayo, sisi ni wazazi. Tafadhalini, tukubaliane, tutafute suluhisho. Na tukipata, tuende tufanye kazi. It is possible. It is doable. It is something that we can do.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's very clear that the meeting had all governors, members of parliament who are present here today, policemen, everybody, and we are all in agreement that the war must be won. It cannot, but the deputy president should be impeached for leading the war on alcohol. Sensational statements against the National Intelligence Service, its Director General, and officers. Mr. Speaker, during the assumption of office, I took an oath of allegiance in the following terms. Oath or solemn affirmation of allegiance to the President, Deputy President. In full realization of the high calling, I assume as Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, I do swear solemnly affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Kenya, that I will obey, preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution of Kenya, as by law established, and all other laws of the Republic, that I will protect and uphold the sovereignty, integrity, and the dignity of the Kenyan people. So help me God. That is the oath that I took in Kasarani. Article 239, Article 3 of the Constitution provides that in performing their functions and accessing their powers, the national security organs and every member of the national security organ shall not act in a partisan manner, further in the interest of a political party or cause, or prejudice a political interest or political cause that is legitimate under this Constitution. Article 239, Subarticle 5 of the Constitution provides the national security organs are subordinate to civilian authority. In relation to this allegation, I wish to state that the National Intelligence Service holds a very critical role in ensuring the safety and security of our country. They are responsible for gathering intelligence and share it with all our law enforcement agencies to ensure that the country is safe at all times. Consequently, when the country was caught flat-footed with regard to the scope and extent of the public's dissatisfaction with the Finance Bill 2024, which degenerated in a Gen Z protest. It pointed to the failure of the National Intelligence Service in carrying out its mandate. I am persuaded that the National Intelligence Service ought to have known beforehand that the public was completely opposed to the finance bill, and they ought to have briefed the president before the protests began, and this would have regarding the proposed bill and the protests which culminated in the loss of innocent lives and destruction of property could have been avoided. Hence, I expressed my opinion on this in my public media briefing in Mombasa, and my utterances were not any different from what happens in other countries when there is a lapse or failure by the intelligence agencies. The nation has witnessed unfortunate instances of several extrajudicial killings, abductions, and disappearances. I firmly believe that if the National Intelligence Service had acted diligently, these instances would not have been witnessed. Under the Constitution, the government agencies are supposed to be accountable to the Kenyan people, including the National Intelligence Service, and calling them out when a dereliction of duty does not amount to undermining them. I am also aware that the Kenya Kwanza government has been at the forefront in calling out officers who do not seem to understand their work. Recently, my boss, the president, publicly complained that there are some PSs and CSs who did not seem to understand their role. Please play for me video number 5, RG5.
On President William Ruto has today described some members of his cabinet as utterly clueless and uninformed about the dockets they occupy. And in a sign of trouble for cabinet secretaries, the State House gates were shut for those who arrived late, with both President Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua giving a sharp tongue lashing to the latecomers. And as Citizen TV's Mutai Goin reports, the atmosphere at the State House Nairobi left little doubt on President Ruto's disappointment.
A cold morning in Nairobi, but the seats on the State House grounds came ultra-heated, particularly for cabinet secretaries. The cabinet members came here to sign performance contracts, but the oral appraisal of the day spurred anything between trouble and outright doom.
If you cannot keep time with your employer, you have basically dismissed yourself. I mean, it's just as simple as that. So, matters of traffic.
Punctuality was at issue, with some cabinet secretaries being locked out of State House for lateness. And from the podium, the president and his senior lieutenants were unforgiving.
Nimeona watu wale wamechelewa, nikaona rais unaniona ninamjua. Nikaona uso yake nikajua hapa kimeumana. Sababu leo ni siku ya performance contract. Ile siku muhimu sana ya kuja kuweka. Na wewe umefika pale, rais amekaa. Tayari amekaa na ndiye rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Wewe umechelewa ukiwa kuona nani? Who else have you gone to see?
One of the things we need to learn in our performance contract is to beat the traffic.
For the 19 cabinet secretaries present, the atmosphere at State House progressed from bad to worse as President Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua issued a blistering assessment of the performance of the cabinet members.
Many of you, the people I speak to, don't even know what is going on in your ministries or departments. You have very scanty information. The moment I know more than you in your ministry, then you must begin to understand that something is very wrong. How do you run a ministry or a department or a parastatal if you have no information? That is the highest level of incompetence.
Those of us who came with the president from the political space and who are his friends, and we assisted him to become president. Once he gives us a job, that is the termination of that friendship. The friendship with the president will be based on nothing but performance.
From travel habits to basic work ethic and even media appearances, it was a brutal ground zero appraisal for the cabinet.
Why do you have to honor every invitation that you have been given to every country?
Your Excellency, at times we have tried to hold cabinet committees, we can't. 5, 6, 7, 8 ministers are out of the country. Some change clothes at the airport from one country to another. That is the truth. Why can't you regulate yourself? If the president was to travel and honor every invitation, he will be out of this country the whole year. You just have to decide what is useful and other things you can leave to our ambassadors out of the country.
So when you hear my deputy saying, find time, travel, but travel and see the people who have hired us, you know, go to different parts of Kenya so that you can get feedback from the public.
We have done so much as an administration, but the information is not out there. Our ministers are quiet. They are called for TV interviews, they don't show up to say what they have done. And then the media have a field day because nobody talks for government. I would rather we spend more time explaining to the people of Kenya what we have done in our respective dockets as opposed to travel. And if we have to travel, let's travel up country to where our wananchi are and explain what we are doing.
And I remember I called CS Chelugui. I didn't find him, so I called his PS. And I found her, and I explained to her, I told her, look, the public is not understanding this. Did I call you or not on Sunday? You know, I told you this is what the public is saying. Please do more sensitization on Hustler Fund Phase 2.
With a very public expression of disappointment in his cabinet, President Ruto has triggered speculation on changes in government as his administration approaches the end of its first year in office. From punctuality to work ethic and general performance, the proverbial axe could well fall somewhere. With the performance contracts expected to foster a culture of high performance in the public service and also ensure that public resources are properly utilized, it is also set to offer a framework for President William Ruto to reward performers and also institute sanctions on non-performers. Chemutai Goin, Citizen TV.
Mr. Speaker, President William Ruto, my boss, and I have been calling out senior government officials when they fall short of expectations. The Director General of the National Intelligence Service is no exception. He's not above the law. He's accountable to the people of Kenya for his performance. And I have had an argument that we should not call out those in the security sector. I would like you to play next video.
We have the most incompetent Inspector General of Police, I think, in the world. The most incompetent in the whole world. His incompetence may not necessarily play out when things are working, but when things get to a head and you need some decisions to be made, I can tell you for sure, the gentleman we have as an IG cannot make any decision.
Nataka tumwambie ule mtu wa sinema mingi anaitwa nani ule mtu? Ule sijui anaitwa DCI, ule anaitwa nini? Ule mtu anaitwa Kinoti. Awache ujinga. Huyo bwana Kiboti awache ujinga. Sio kama tunaelewana. Huyo Kinoti hakuna kitu amefanya kwa hii Kenya ya kisiasa. Yeye ni mtu ya sinema. Anaendesha makesi kwa magazeti. Anatuandikia barua, sijui barua ya kilomita ngapi. Mr. Kinoti, please save your time. Stop writing to us long letters. Leave matters of elections to IEBC. You have no business in IEBC. You have failed as DCI. We don't want you to fail our elections. Tunaelewana? Huyo bwana Kinoti awache hiyo ujinga yake anaendesha pale, kwa sababu anatukasirisha. Huyo bwana Kinoti tunataka tumwambie awachane na watu wa IEBC wafanye hiyo uchaguzi. Alipatiwa kazi ya kufanya criminal investigation. He has never done anything.
Ile kesi yote anafanya kesi kwa magazeti, akiambiwa apeleke evidence kule kotini ameshindwa. So Bwana Kinoti, wacha sinema. You have failed, and wait for August so that you can.
Honorable members, that was President William Ruto as Deputy President criticizing IG Mutiabai, DCI Kinoti. Rigathi Gachagua has learned his job from his boss, that public officers must be called to order when they fell short of expectation. And I never saw anybody bring William Ruto here for impeachment for criticizing the IG or the DCI. This is a very unfair allegation. Mr. Speaker, it is also reported by media that the IMF has already warned about impending unrest during the people's dissatisfaction with the 2023 and 24 finance bill. Many of you will recall, Mr. Speaker, after the September 11th terrorist attack in the US, the US intelligence agencies were massively criticized, and an inquiry was even opened to investigate why their intelligence agency was not able to detect and thwart the attack. All we are saying is that our National Intelligence Service is accountable to the people of Kenya for its performance. Mr. Speaker, conniving with cartels in the tea sector to block ATDA from implementing guaranteed minimum return, Mr. Speaker, I am yet to see a shred of evidence to that effect, and I have nothing to say. I have seen an allegation that we have not been able to do coffee reforms. Mr. Speaker, out of my work, coordinating coffee reforms, the Cooperative Bill 2023 and the Coffee Bill 2023 is before this House. I request this House, after these impeachment proceedings, to embark on those two bills so that the coffee farmers can realize the full benefit of the coffee reforms that we have initiated. There is another allegation that I have taken control of a local cooperative society in Madeira constituency. I don't know the name of that constituency, of that cooperative. It is false. I am here to see any evidence. I have nothing to say because there is nothing to be said. On the issue of shareholding, which I think members are interested in listening to, I listened to you this morning, and it was quite emotive. By virtue of provisions of the third schedule of the Political Parties Act, the constituent parties of the Kenya Kwanza Coalition entered into various agreements, which were deposited with the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate for purposes of Article 108 of the Constitution of Kenya. The following were members: UDA, ANC, Ford Kenya, PA, Farmers Party, Chama cha Kazi, Communist Party, Economic Freedom Party, Service Party, Tujibebe wa Kenya Party, Umoja na Maendeleo Party of Kenya, and the Democratic Party of Kenya. In accordance with the provision of Clause 3, Schedule 3, a power sharing agreement and development agenda for the certain regions of Kenya, I attached copies of these agreements, RG 32. All those agreements talked about specific regions. The leaders who appended their signatures canvassed issues of appointments to do with specific regions. Power sharing agreement between UDA and ANC and Ford Kenya, for example, say that the UDA would nominate the coalition president, the presidential and deputy presidential candidates that was honored. The president would guarantee the stature, the dignity, and financial and operational autonomy of the office of the deputy president, which I have been insisting on because it's part of the coalition agreement. The ANC would be allocated the position of the prime cabinet secretary, which has happened. Ford Kenya would be allocated the position of the Speaker of the National Assembly, and that is why Honorable Masika Wetangula sits here today. In accordance with Article 2 of the Power Sharing Agreement, ANC and Ford Kenya would have a 30% share is a word, of the national government positions. This drives my utterances about shareholding. It is embedded in all these agreements. that are attached here for you to read. I heard this morning an honorable member saying that the Deputy President said the people of Ukambani will not get resources because they did not vote for Kenya Kwanza government. That is not true. The Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya does not allocate resources. Resources for the development of the Republic of Kenya are appropriated by the National Assembly of Kenya, where I am today. The Deputy President will help the President to oversee the implementation of funds allocated and appropriated by the National Assembly. It is therefore not possible that the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya has a capacity to deny any part of Kenya resources because of the way they voted. The decisions on how resources will be allocated for the development of the Republic of Kenya are made here by the honorable members. If your area has no development, please don't impeach the Deputy President. Don't accuse him of not giving you resources. You are in this house to make sure that your area where you come from is allocated appropriate resources, because that is your job. The agreements are attached, therefore I don't want to go into them. Let me say my speeches on the shareholder issue were informed by the aforesaid power sharing covenants, which are founded on law, having been deposited with the Registrar of Political Parties, and lessons learned from the well-known disputed 202 NAC power sharing agreement. Further, sharing agreements are a feature of government formation